welcome to Hold Up, a movie podcast. Last time we visited a few house parties, some hip and hoppin', some shitty. This week we visit houses of another kind, those that hold parties of a few that make the decisions for the many. We talk wars both civil and cold, and the battle of trying to get a date while being the president.
Yeah, that's the way of putting it.
I guess. Because tonight's theme is politics. I am your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me, as always, my co-host, Chris Worldmind Murphy.
Thank you.
And with us again, our first and thus far only guest, though not for long. There's many more guests on the way. Captain Dave Mater.
Hello and good evening. Salutations. Let's talk some politics.
Let's do it.
I'd just like to say that off the hop, I'm the only one that actually brought a political movie to the table.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Mine definitely is.
Actually, Davin's movie, I'm coming in and saying is not that political. It's
no, his is a comedy of bad communication.
But my movie's just as political as yours. Like, I don't.
Oh, no way! Not even in a heartbeat, sir. What politics happened in that movie? What politics?
I can go on and on if you'd like me to. I got lots of answers. You go, oh no! What are you talking about? But it doesn't make you right. So there's climate change, there's gun control, there's domestic policy, there's international response to policies with Libya and Israel. There's tons of politics going on in that movie.
I don't think so. There's a lot of softball, side story politics that's all just ham-fisted with bad romance.
If you're just going, la, 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 I don't like a romance story, then you're not going to be paying attention, guys. Sorry.
I looked for the politics, and it's all just backroom talking. There was no real political action. As opposed to Lincoln, which has
there's tons of political action. They're literally on the phone with congressmen.
Speaker of the House. I thought Murphy was going to be the Speaker of the House, but apparently it's me. But that's fitting. Where's my gavel?
Order.
There we go. Oh, when I go, I set off Charlie. Charlie, settle down.
Charlie.
That's my skeleton.
Oh. In your closet?
The skeleton in the closet. But he just sits on my chair. Yes, I've seen a skeleton before. Shut up. Anyway, so the first movie we're going to cover tonight over here in Theater 1. Let's get started because we're getting already ahead of us.
We're getting into it.
So first, in Theater 1, we have Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, from 1964, starring Peter Sellers, George C. Scott, Sterling Hayden, and introducing James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Directed by Stanley Kubrick. Now, before I get started on the synopsis here, I just gotta say, I had never seen this movie before. And it's one of my favorite movies. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. As far as comedies go, it's one of my top 5 comedies ever. And maybe even top 5 movies ever. It's fantastic.
Whoa! That's high praise.
Every scene.
Wow.
It could have been a comic book. Like, every scene is memorable. Every line is memorable. All the characters are super unique. And the acting is a unique style. Like, and there's a reason for that. Like, everyone seems to be playing it straight. Just at some point they get to something where they say something absurd, but they still do it completely straight. Like in a comedy, everyone, you can tell they're just acting for comedy. Usually, that's not the case here. Like, if you weren't paying attention to all the things you were saying, it was just really quiet in a bar, you'd think you were watching a serious movie until the buddy rides the bomb like a cowboy. But anyway. Any opening thoughts from you guys before I get into the synopsis here?
I too haven't seen this movie before. It was always sort of on the list. A lot of Kubrick films are on my list, and this was one of them. And I went into it, and I had a pretty good time. I thought The plane scene was hilarious and how bad it was, and just not the interior stuff. I love the interior stuff. It's the exterior plane stuff.
It's just like
And
somebody's holding a toy or something. It's like
yeah, it's basically his point of fixture for the camera was the plane, as opposed to like where you film it, your point of fixture is the sky, and you film things moving through the plane, and you get this like movement with flying. This was very like he didn't quite know what he was going for, but you could tell what he was trying to go for, and it was those moments that took me out of the film. So that was my biggest con, but everything else I thought was pretty funny and I enjoyed. So like, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it was like I'd say it was a mixed bag. Like I will say that some of the comedy was really good and still held up. Some of it I think is just bizarre and weird and not poignant. And the other thing with this movie was that, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, it's not really all that political. It's about the Cold War, kind of.
It's about the Cold War,
but
it's about the the war room politics of that era, basically.
Yeah, it's like I thought it was interesting,
and the
like
hazards that can come from that. Like
like it was interesting, like the conversation between the president and like the Russian premier or whatever is really funny.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, like Dimitri.
Do you have a trailer, Murphy?
Yeah.
We do have a trailer. We're just getting
fire
so
up
into
our Theater 1 trailer. Yeah, and then we'll get into it.
Attack!
Russia.
The weirdest edited trailer ever.
I know.
Very strange.
This is even weird for the era.
Huh.
Well, it's Kubrick, man. He tries to do things in a strange way. It's an artsy fella.
The Coca-Cola machine.
See, all these images are just so memorable.
The Doomsday Machine.
Blast off!
I love that. There's Turgis. I love Turgis.
Where's my shorts?
Where's the bathroom?
Buck, should I get it?
On the hotline.
Dr. Strangelove.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and
Love the bomb. A moving picture.
It doesn't tell you anything about the movie, but it's
At
a fantastic
all.
trailer.
It
But
doesn't.
it's still fantastic.
What's
It's
the
very
whole, like-
interesting and stylish?
Love the bomb at the end. What the hell is that?
It's like some weird like marketing choice. Like it's not in the movie at any point. It's just like this weird like lampoonish style marketing choice that they decided to clearly do or something, and they just went full tilt on it. Kubrick was clearly having a ball making this movie.
For sure. Okay, and like I'd say I got two big criticisms with this movie. Things I don't personally like. One, this Dr. Strangelove, the title character, is by far the worst character in the movie.
What?
Yeah, it's true.
What?
Yeah, he's bizarre. It's not funny at all. I didn't laugh any
Oh my
time this
god,
guy
I
was on
find him
screen.
hilarious.
Why?
Because everything he said was hilarious, and he has alien hand syndrome.
Why?
And he was a former Nazi, and it keeps slipping out accidentally because he's
Well,
based on Werner von Braun.
But that's not funny.
And it's very funny
Why? Why is that funny, Davan?
because it's funny, man. It's a weird character. It's not just like this standard character. He's a very strange character.
I talk kind of
He
funny.
talks funny. His
Hello,
delivery
Mr.
is
President. We must build a
How he
lab.
keep-
Like,
Well, look. All right, what's your other criticism?
my other criticism with the movie is that it's condescending. It's incredible. Like, it's mostly coming from this point of view that everybody out there is stupid, especially the people in government and the military, and it's just like really hitting you over the head with that message. Like, we are so smart, you are so dumb, and it's just like I don't think this is a good way to get that. Like, if you're against like the Cold War, if you're against like nuclear deterrence and all these things, this is not the way I think you persuasively convince a public to de-escalate. It's more just about like
job.
it just feels like very condescending, rude, a self-inflated sense of importance.
It's a satire.
Yeah, it's very satirical. Maybe too far for my taste.
It's based on a book that was not satirical, and they were gonna do he was thinking about doing that movie, just like doing it straight, and then he decided it would be better and more effective as a satire.
Yeah, but those two things aside,
it can show the extremes. Then then it can
I agree with you.
Crazy extreme it could get.
Yeah, I agree with you that there are a lot of memorable moments in the movie. I think there are some fun bits in the movie. I think some of the comedy, some of the bits with like the telephone gags, I think are a little overdone. Like this movie seems to be mostly about like how funny it is when you're on the phone with somebody and then you can't hear the other side, and when it starts with the secretary, and then later on with like when you can only hear the president talking to the premier, right? And it's just like I know
when he's talking to Dimitri is hilarious though. That is hilarious.
It is hilarious, yeah. But it's almost like I feel like that the phone gag is a little bit overdone in the movie, but that's a minor thing.
All right, I'm just going to do a quick synopsis. It won't take me long, then we can get into it, because there's lots to say about this movie. So basically it's about Brigadier General Jack Ripper, who loses his mind and just goes crazy, and he thinks that the Russian or the communists are after our, precious bodily fluids. And he got that idea based on a misinterpretation of being tired after sex. It gets crazy.
Mandrake, I suppose it never occurred to you that while we're chatting here so enjoyably, a decision is being made by the President and the Joint Chiefs in the war room at the Pentagon. And when they realize there was no possibility of recalling the wing,
I got to give it to Peter Sellers.
There will be only one course of action.
I'll give him half. This character was great. This British character he plays.
So they were all great.
Mandrake,
he still needs a 2, right?
You recall
no, he did
Clemenceau
3.
once said about war?
The president.
No, I didn't think I do.
He's the president?
Yeah.
He's the president and Dr. Strange.
He said war was too important to be left to the general.
Oh, okay, his president's character is great.
When he said that,
I didn't even realize that was him.
Ago,
I know, right?
He might have been right.
That's how good.
I didn't figure that out until I started looking at the credits. I was like, wait a minute.
War is too
what?
To be left to politicians.
And the Dr. Strangelove character is different enough that
the training
props, but I don't think it's funny.
Or the inclination for strategic thought.
It was a funny line too.
I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination.
This is one of my favorite monologues.
Communist subversion.
This is hilarious.
And the international communist conspiracy.
It's not that funny.
To sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
Well, that part's funny.
Like that's what it leads to.
Serious deadpan monologue and intimidating and everything. And it ends with precious bodily fluids.
Into our precious bodily fluids. Without the
he probably took that whole serious monologue out of the book readily.
Without any
just
choice.
Added the words precious bodily fluids to the end.
That's the way a hardcore commie
works.
Jack.
Yeah, so it's basically about him, and they're trying to stop him.
Well, develop this theory.
Mandrake's trying to stop him too. He's an exchange officer from.
First became aware of it.
The officer exchange program.
During the physical
he
act
knows,
of love.
like he caught on right away how nuts.
Yes,
he was there to confront him. Tells him to go ready alert.
Feeling of emptiness.
Hey, AJ.
Hey, AJ.
Luckily, I was able to interpret these feelings correctly. Loss of essence.
Loss of essence.
And therefore the communists are after our precious bodily fluid.
Women sense my power, and they seek the life essence.
This character is hilarious.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, he's so crazy.
But I do deny them my essence.
But everyone's playing it so straight. Like that's the thing.
He's not the funny part. The funny guy in the scene is Peter Sellers to me. There, like it's more the British guy reacting to that general. I don't think the general's kind of funny, but it's not that.
But
funny.
he's what makes the scene. He's not the funny part. You're right.
Yeah, he's the straight guy.
Of Mandrake. Because he's just getting more and more scared the whole time, Mandrake. He's just like, this is just getting worse and worse. And all of a sudden they start hearing gunfire and everything. This is like, Mandrake's like, oh my God. Anyway, so they're trying to stop him in the war room, figure out the president is. He's talking to the Russians. And he's talking to, well, first he talks to General Turgidson, who's a hilarious character. Turgidson is giving him like the reasons why this happened and how they could possibly stop him and if there's any potential to do that. And then they bring in Strangelove for the same reason. They're like, we need ways to stop this and what can go wrong. And he tells them about the doomsday machine that the Russians have that'll just basically wipe everybody out, including the Russians. And that's pretty much the plot. And the side plot is there's the bombers in the plane. It's a King Kong or Kong. They call him King Kong.
B-52.
They call him Kong. Yeah, the pilot. He's Kong. And James Earl Jones is in there. This is his first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool to see James Earl Jones just kind of like pop up in this movie out of nowhere. I'm just like, oh, there's somebody I know in this film. That's cool.
Yeah. Like the Major is the first real like eccentric character we meet, right? And I'm just watching the beginning of this movie and I'm like, nobody acts, no officer would act like this on a bomber plane. Like it's
okay. So
the thing is, he didn't know it was a comedy. He was told to play it straight.
Yeah, he had no idea it was comedy. And they hired him because he's not putting on a character. That's how he literally is.
He's a rodeo guy.
Yeah, he's literally just that character.
Okay, so they cast a clown.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know I was going to completely.
I just said they cast a clown to play like a soldier. That's why it feels a little weird. I'm like, this guy doesn't feel like a real major in the army at all, or the Air Force.
Sure, he does. He just seems like a Southerner, really.
No,
a little eccentric. A little eccentric.
A little.
Yeah.
No, way more than a little.
But
he's a cartoon. He's a cartoon character. Like he's not a real person.
He's the most cartoonish of them all, probably, and that's why he ends up being in that iconic image where he's riding the bomb like a rodeo bull.
Which is a total accident. Like I thought it was intentional. Like I've always seen that iconic imagery, and I'm like, oh, he must be doing that intentionally. Like he's just like, let's do this, and then he's just like, nope, it's an accident. And he's like, well, fuck it. And I think that's what I appreciate about it more.
Yeah, so the general sends off 5 bombers, and eventually they realize they have to help the Russians shoot them down. And the Russians are able to shoot 4 of the bombers down, but the plane we've been following gets through, and they end up dropping the bomb and setting off nuclear war, and it ends the world, and that's basically the plot. Yeah. But there are hilarious scenes in this. Do you have the scene with the president talking to Dmitri?
I believe I do.
Funniest scene for me.
It's so good. Peter Sellers, I didn't even really know him as an actor, and he might be one of my favorite actors now, just from this, playing these 3 characters.
He's the Pink Panther, right? And all that.
He is the Pink Panther, and because of this movie, I added the Pink Panther to one of our later episodes.
Yeah.
I want to see more.
Remind me, what line was that again?
Well, he's like, Dimitri, if he's
Dimitri,
if you're upset, think how I feel.
Yeah, think how It's like, I can be upset
I can be upset like you, Dimitri. Please let me talk.
Dimitri, let me finish, Dimitri.
Yeah, and it's so different than how he plays it early when he's talking to the general. He's like, I thought I was the only one who had the authority to launch nuclear weapons.
He's very serious and commandy, with
the general Turgidson.
But the general's all excuses. He's just making excuses and
he's the I'm like, he's him and the major. I'm like, these guys are like clowns. These are not real.
The general's
people.
a clown. And here's another funny thing, Dave. George C. Scott, the character that plays Turgidson, he didn't know it was a comedy either, and he was just told to do a goofy take to break the ice each scene. And then Kubrick just
use that every time.
And they didn't tell him that, and then he got mad afterwards and said he'd never work with Kubrick again.
I could see why.
He was doing this crazy thing to get these performances that he wanted, and I noticed it right away. I'm like, why is this movie so wonderfully serious but wonderfully satirical at the same time? And it's because all these people are playing it straight.
Now then, Dimitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dimitri.
The bomb, Dimitri.
The hydrogen
This
bomb.
is so funny.
Well, now, what happened is one of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head. You know, just a little funny. And
Just a little funny.
he went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country.
So,
well, let me finish, Dimitri.
is this the politics
Let me
of the
finish,
film?
Dimitri.
It's the only
Well,
thing
listen,
that's really
how do you
political.
think I feel about it?
And
Can
the
you imagine
proliferation
how
of
I feel
nuclear
about it,
weapons
Dimitri?
is the political.
Well, that's warfare.
That's
Hardly. That's more
Just to say
warfare, and they're
hello.
arguing about it and being like, "This is our R&D." No, this is our R&D.
This is more like
I'd like
like
to say
international
hello.
politics.
Not
but
now, but anytime, Dimitri. I'm
and a
just
little bit when they're
calling
talking
to
about
tell you
commies.
something
Are you a
terrible
commie
has
and all
happened.
this stuff? But
It's a friendly
The
call.
time.
Of
It's
course
Cold
a
War
friendly
stuff.
call.
yeah,
It's Cold War politics.
But
I'm sorry too, Dimitri.
in comparison to the other two films,
I'm very
it
sorry.
has less
It's far
politics.
more
All right,
political
you're
than the
sorrier
next
than
one
I
we're
am.
going to talk about.
But I am
It is
sorry
not.
as well.
It
Hey,
is
Jaemeel.
objectively not more
I am
political
as
than the
sorry
next
as you
one.
are, Dimitri. Don't say that you're more sorry than I am, because I'm capable of being just as sorry as you are. So we're both sorry, all right? All right.
Well, everyone's sorry.
There are sounds of warfare while monologuing. What is this fucking movie?
Like no, that's really funny too. Like and like I just think
Yeah,
like
this is very funny.
when you're talking about politics, it was interesting just how you introduced the episode, Davan. How you're like, well, people in other rooms making decisions for us. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get a picture of how you view politics. And this movie, I think, is also an indication of it because even though you hadn't seen it,
I rightfully don't think highly of many politicians because I pay attention.
yeah. So I think like you don't really are you like a libertarian or like are you just like
No, I'm not like down with the system guy. I just think we could elect better people most of the time.
well, they got to want to run too.
Well, that's the thing, and I don't think they would, and that's the problem. Like I have issues with the idea of politics in general and getting good people to run, or at least. Anyway, we could get into that.
Yeah, sure.
But like I vote, of course, and like
yeah, like it just you guys keep saying there's no politics in my movie. I'm like, did you watch my movie? Like, I know we're
I
not
did
like,
watch your movie, but there was no.
We'll get to your movie.
all right,
Yeah.
like I'm like I feel like we need to skip ahead because I'm like you keep throwing this shade at me. Like, oh, there's no compared to the next movie that has no politics.
Dave, I'm sort of with you because to be honest, like. There's not a lot of politics in this movie either. There's literally just two. No, there's just two
I don't love it for its
superpowers.
politics.
Yeah, like
it's definitely a political movie because it's about vaguely, at least.
Yes, yeah, it is. But like I think of like movies from this era, and I think like the Manchurian Candidate. Like wouldn't the Manchurian Candidate be a more like political?
Yeah,
movie?
the Manchurian would have been a more appropriate candidate for a movie. Yeah, it would have been a more appropriate candidate.
We pick a theme, but that doesn't mean I try to pick the most political movie I can think of. What I want to do is have us have three movies that are very different that still have a vague similarity of.
And I think we accomplished that. But
we very much accomplished
that very well here, and that's what I was going for. So, like, I don't want you can focus on that and say that's a flaw in the movie, and that's fine. But I don't think that's what the movie's about. Trying to be overly political. I think it's just trying to be a funny satire that has a political underlining.
And it very much is that.
Very well, because again, it could be a comic book. Every scene is just like it's like maybe it was storyboarded. I don't know, but it looks like a storyboard, and it's awesome. It's because it's just a few sets, like 3 sets in the whole movie, probably.
Yeah,
it's like the war room.
It's pretty.
Ferguson's.
You bloody bully, you filthy, you surly guy! Not tasting karate before, eh? You war mustering for it.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
You can't fight here. It's a war room.
That was funny. That was a funny line. Can't fight in here. It's the war room.
Yeah.
So again, that president, one of my favorite president characters I've ever seen in a movie. He's fantastic.
I didn't know it was Peter
Sellers.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, no.
Do we have any clips of Strangelove?
Of Strangelove, we do actually have some clips of Strangelove. But yeah,
there
that's
he is.
all.
There's just 3 characters.
All one man.
I
was
look so different than the other two. They all
and I
look so
appreciate
different, really.
the acting and the character chops that this guy has. It's just this is just my thing. I'm like the Strangelove character. The title of the movie is the weakest of these three characters, and like and the least funny.
If we have a clip of him, let's show it and let. Is this Strangelove? No, this is.
Well, this is sort of all one. This is more or less the end of the film, I guess you could say. You know, General Kong.
There's old Kong
trying to fix the bomb.
See, I love this shot. I know it's not like anything great. It's just hilarious, though. I love that shot of the plane. And this is an iconic image. Right there.
What about General Kong?
But it's crazy and it's serious, but it's effective, man. Like, it's hard to watch because he's just barreling towards the ground and it just gets faster and faster.
Dude, it is. It is a little scary to think about.
Yeah, this movie is fantastic to me.
Mr. President.
And then you immediately cut to this.
The chance to preserve a nucleus of human specimens.
Someone nuclear.
It would be quite easy.
There, he's talking to himself here, which is funny.
At the bottom of some of our deeper mine shafts.
Yeah. How long would you have to stay down there?
I would think that possibly 100 years.
You mean
can't get it away from his alien hand.
Actually stay down there for 100 years?
Basically, his hand is still a Nazi.
Nuclear reactors could...
Mind Führer, he calls it.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Nuclear reactors could provide power almost indefinitely. Greenhouses could maintain plant life. Animals could be bred and slaughtered.
I love this character.
A survey would have to be made of all
the worst character.
Sites in the country.
Oh my
it's not funny.
It's so funny.
So unfunny.
It's all ad-lib.
Character, he's fantastic.
And it's like it's right at the end here where you're like, can we just get to the point?
Military men be included to foster.
All I could think about was Logan's Run when he's saying all this stuff.
And this is where I'm like, is this supposed to be funny?
I
this
laughed
is
out loud. I laughed out loud.
I'm very happy for you, Davan, but this was not funny for me at all.
Oh my god, you don't find that a wacky?
No.
You know who else thought it was funny? Was the Russian guy in the back. You could see him just go.
He's about to cry.
Like crack a smile.
Yeah, right there. He's about
witnessing genius here. Yeah. He's fighting his alien hand syndrome. Like, even that's a hilarious concept.
There will be no shocking memories, and the prevailing motion will be one of nostalgia for those left behind, combined with a spirit of bold curiosity for the adventure ahead.
We must not allow.
God, it still makes me laugh.
Sir, I have a plan. Monsieur, I can walk.
It can walk.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't like this ending.
Oh, it's a hilarious ending.
It's not.
It's the Armageddon.
I didn't laugh at all.
Well, it's not supposed to. This part's not supposed to be funny.
Yeah. I've got many movie morsels.
This movie goes back and forth. It can be serious for a minute, and then it just gets ridiculously wacky. But still played straight. Anyway, so that was the plot. Like I say, Dr. Strangelove, based on Werner von Braun, who people may know is a Nazi who the Americans hired to do a lot of their space stuff, like early NASA and stuff like that. So they're playing off that too. That's a political thing too.
Yeah.
So there's you can find the politics here. It's certainly like about the powers of the military and the powers of like one person within the military. If you're looking for politics, you can't find it.
The war room.
It's better to just sit back and watch these amazing performances of these very strange characters and acted in this very odd way, and in a movie that's sort of directed in a very odd sort of Kubrick way.
Yeah.
Of all the Kubrick movies I've seen, this one's my favorite. I like it better than The Shining, A Clockwork Orange, 2001.
I would say Full Metal Jacket is ahead of this for me.
Full Metal Jacket, I like this better.
You like this better than Full Metal Jacket?
It's in his top 5 all time Murphy.
I
Like
think
this
it
is.
is. Maybe it's just recency bias, but at the moment right now, I can't remember the last
He
time I
thinks
enjoyed it.
it's one of the greatest comedies and one of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh, I think that's easily one of the best comedies I've ever seen. As far as being, I could watch this again and still laugh because it's just these characters.
I'm gonna say some shit that's gonna
It's not.
break you. I'm gonna say something that's gonna break you, Davan.
What's that?
1989's UHF by Weird Al Yankovic is a funnier movie than this.
We'll see. I don't find Weird Al funny. I don't find any of his songs funny.
He's funnier than this Doctor Strangelove character.
You really don't like the Doctor Strangelove character?
No, it's not funny.
Why not?
Because it's like it's just a wacky, weird voice like character. Like compared to his other two characters, who I think are very well crafted, the Strangelove character is just like this. I'm like, maybe
worst
the
German accent
character
ever
was added for the movie. The Strangelove character's not in the book.
Yeah, it's just like it just
thrown
feels
in
like
there.
it's inserted weirdly. It doesn't seem to fit. It doesn't really add anything to the story. And so
no, it adds a character to the movie.
Yeah, I just don't think they needed
no,
it.
it does. He has the knowledge of like the Doomsday Machine and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
well, they could have given that to
scientists.
they could have just given that to anybody, really. But like, it's
any scientist, but you might as well make that scientist a weird, memorable character.
Well, I guess if you're Kubrick,
an exposition guy, you know.
Yeah, like Kubrick definitely has his own style, and I appreciate it. Like aesthetically, like
he's hit or miss for me too.
Why do you think they chose to do this in black and white?
Probably because
I think it works.
It works okay. It's fine. I was like, they could have made this in color at this point, but they chose not to for whatever reason. For maybe it's just for the aesthetics.
Maybe it helped with the visuals. Yeah, maybe it helped with some of those.
Or the budget was maybe more easy to execute on a black and white. It's Kubrick's only black and white film, I believe. It's the title, the intro titles, like that font. Aesthetically was the other thing. I was like, I don't know if I like this, but it's also memorable and artistic.
The things we talk about here, the setting and aesthetic. What do you think, Murphy?
Well, to answer your question there, Dave, Stanley Kubrick chose to shoot Dr. Strangelove in black and white because he felt that it would help to create a more serious tone for the film, which is a satire of the Cold War. Additionally, black and white photography can help create a sense of timelessness and universality, which is fitting for a film that deals with themes that are still relevant today.
Okay, yeah, so he was a deliberate choice, and I think it's correct. I think you're right. It does create this more serious tone to it, especially some of those scenes with the general early on in the movie.
Yeah. Some of those scenes with the general were pretty hilarious. I think we have one.
Yeah, he was great.
I gotta stop doing this. I gotta step them up more purposes. Sorry. I don't like this.
Are you launching it?
Hang on.
Yeah, so Turgidson, he was funny. But so yeah, I liked the set. I think it worked in black and white. I think it did make it seem more serious because I love that. I love how it's weirdly serious, even though it's a satire. And do I think when I say this is one of the best comedies I've ever seen, that it's the most laughs per minute upon first watch? No, but that's not what it's trying to be. It's these long, serious monologues and then just surprising laughs.
It's unexpectedly funny and
very.
Yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. Here's some Turgidson love.
There are one or 2 points I'd like to make, if I may.
Go ahead, I love that these are just his bullshit takes. Because he does them so well. He's such a good comedy actor accidentally.
Quickly being reduced to a very low order of probability. 2. In less than 15 minutes from now, the Ruskies will be making radar contact with the planes. 3. When they do, they are going to go absolutely ape, and they're going to strike back with everything they got. 4. If, prior to this time, we have done nothing further to suppress their retaliatory capabilities, we will suffer virtual annihilation.
Annihilation.
5. If, on the other hand,
see, I love this character too. I can't remember the last time I saw a movie that had so many memorable characters.
On all their airfields and missile bases, we'd stand a damn good chance of catching them with their pants down.
That's crazy. It's just like, well, now that we have to accidentally mix them once, let's
3 missiles every time.
Which is what the other general was hoping to do, right?
Exactly. Yep.
6.
It's well crafted plot.
which we undertook of this eventuality indicated that we would destroy 90% of their nuclear capabilities.
And they
would
don't do that. And then he was right because the whole world ends up getting nuked.
Civilian casualties from the
just
remaining force, which would be badly damaged.
But in the middle of this, he takes like a call from his secretary, like that he's having an affair.
It's hilarious. That's what's funny. His mistress.
Yeah,
you know
and
what?
she's like, "Baby, what are you doing?" You know?
He's like, "You'll be home soon."
So the funny thing I found with George C. Scott in this role, because he really kills it. This role was better than I thought it was going to be. Is the whole time I'm watching this, I couldn't help but think that it's John Barenthal
from Walking Dead.
Yeah, the Punisher, Walking Dead. Yeah, he just the way he sort of like presents himself was very like the Punisher. John Barenthal.
Interesting. Well, let's which scenes would you guys hold up?
For me, it's that
the president.
The president talking, Dimitri, please, like, yeah, let me finish.
This is a friendly call.
This is a friendly call. Yeah, we're friends. And like, I like how the ambassador's like, I think he's drunk. So you think he's talking?
No, Dimitri, I would call you just to say hi, but that's not what I'm doing this time.
yeah, like, and knowing it's like Peter Sellers now, it's even better, I think, because he's not even doing his own accent, right? He's doing an American accent. So that's even better, I think, in the performance. So
again, go ahead.
And the scene also, I think, earlier in the movie where it's the secretary on the phone where she's talking to George C. Scott in the bathroom. I also thought like that was kind of
it's funny,
interesting.
That's like the opening scene almost.
Yeah,
of the movie.
Yeah, it's one of them too. Most of the stuff with like, go ahead, guys. So, said my holdups.
I guess my scene that would probably hold up is George C. Scott sort of explaining the plane can make it, which is the scene.
If the pilot's good, see? I mean, if he's really sharp.
Really good. The way he just like gets into it and just geeks out.
A big plane like a 52. Room. It's jet exhaust. Frying chickens in the barnyard.
Yeah, but has he got a chance?
Has he got a
chance? The sudden realization in his fucking brain.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. He's so excited because that good old American boy can do. Oh no. And it like the series of unfortunate events that this movie like entails is impressive and hilarious. I will admit.
There's a disclaimer at the front too, where it's like the U.S. Air Force has assured us this could never happen, or something like that.
Yeah, which again adds to the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
Instead of making you they're meaning to make that, or the military, if that's real. Do you guys think that's real, or they just added it?
My movie morsels are gonna blow your friggin' brain.
Take care of that. All right.
Added. Sorry, what do you mean added what?
Like
if
fear
it's
and
written part of the movie, like a fictional disclaimer, or if it was real.
Oh, if that, it's almost like when like Michael Jackson put that like a disclaimer at the front of Thriller, and he's like, I'm not into the occult or the supernatural.
Yeah.
Like, did anyone ask you if you were? Like, it's like
exactly. Is that
yeah.
I think you guys mentioned all of my favorite scenes. I love the one, everything with the president and Turgidson, everything in that war room. Really, that's a lot of scenes.
I like
the intro.
Sorry, I was just thinking about. I also like the scenes with the plane, like all the interiors of the plane. Like, we kind of skipped over that. I found we were more focused on war rooms.
Why were there lipsticks and nylons in their survival kits? I couldn't.
I wanted to mention that where the music in those airplane scenes is phenomenal. Where it's just like soldiers humming "The Ants Go Marching."
Yes.
It's haunting. Like that's what adds the seriousness to this movie, because there'll be something wacky happening in the war room, and then they just cut to and them actually just reading off their like checklist in the plane to get the bomb ready and that sort of stuff.
1 issue of prophylactics, 3 lipsticks, 3 pair of nylon stockings. Shoot, a fella could have a pretty good weekend in Vegas with all that stuff.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't really get it. I didn't necessarily understand why it was all in their little packs. And
well, he was the only unserious character. Everyone else in that plane is playing it completely
super
serious. Yeah, he's playing that so straight, but like it just comes off.
And he is too. He's playing it straight, just as himself.
There was one other actor that played it pretty straight, and it was
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones is very serious in it.
Yeah, James Earl Jones was pretty awesome this year.
Operator, hold on. Try and keep you a second.
Oh, and this guy.
Man,
watch out for the Coca-Cola
I want you
company.
to shoot the lock off it. There may be some change in there.
This guy
That's private property.
That's
private
Can
property.
you possibly imagine what is going to happen to you, your frame, outlook, way of life, and everything, when they learn that you have obstructed a telephone call to the President of the United States? Can you imagine? Shoot it off! Shoot with a gun! That's what the bullets are for, you twit!
Shoot with the gun!
Okay. I'm gonna get your money for you. But if you don't get the President of the United States on that phone, you know what's gonna happen to you?
What?
You're gonna have to answer to the Coca-Cola company.
Gonna have to answer the Coca-Cola company. Now, okay, on the surface, that seems like a really kind of foolish and ridiculous scene. And I understand where you're coming from, Dave, where it's sort of like, why is this happening? It's so irritating. But you know what? That actually proved to be the most important scene in the entire film and had great ramifications for just how people in the government and military decided to handle things.
Yeah, like that scene's not even the one. Like, I agree. It's kind of like, I'm like, can you just get to it? But on the other hand, I know it's a satire, and I know they're trying to create these absurd moments. And for the most part, I think they're fine. I think it's just my own personal issues with this Strangelove character is like where it all falls apart for me. And it's the end of the movie, so I'm just like, ugh. So
he's not my favorite character in this movie by any means, but I think he is a funny character, and he's an interesting kind of little addition.
And I'm like, why does he have an alien arm? What's that about?
That's just funny
He's
because
a
that's
mad
the way of showing.
That's just something he cooked up for his character and to
Yes,
throw into
exactly.
this just to make it even wackier. It didn't need it, I don't think, but
the alien hand gags were getting me. Every time he just throws out the Nazi salute by like inadvertently.
To each their own.
No,
yeah.
he's
Ralph,
just, like, trying to
Ralph Garman's been doing like this like German character on like this other podcast called what he does with Kevin Smith, Hollywood Babylon, and he always does this German character. I'm like, oh, this is who he's doing. Now I get it.
Doing Strangelove.
He's doing Strangelove, yeah. He's like, we'd like take over the world.
The only other scene I would add, because they're actually quite tense, are the scenes with what is it, Mangrove,
Mandrake,
and Ripper, because they're tense. You actually feel tension for Mandrake because you're like, is Ripper just gonna kill him? And you don't want him to because you like Mandrake. He's actually kind of likable because he's gentlemanly and like witty, and so. I found those scenes very tense.
He has a chance there to like actually get the general before he kills himself.
That fluoridation is the most monstrously conceived and dangerous communist plot we have ever had to face.
Just to this day.
You can play a dead game, soldier.
Yes. No fucks given.
Nice shooting, soldier.
Bullets just went around him.
Nice shooting, soldier. This character is fantastic. He's like the villain in a comedy satire.
Come over here and help me with this belt. I haven't had very much experience, with those sort of machines, Jack. I've only ever pressed a button in my old Spitfire.
Mandrake, in the name of Her Majesty and the Continental Congress, come here and feed me this belt, boy.
All right, I think here we may all pick the same thing, but which performance would you hold up? For me, it's Peter Sellers. Again, wasn't very familiar with him. One of the best performances ever. Those three characters for me, so good.
I think I gotta go.
George C. Scott as Turgidson is so good.
Yeah, I think I kind of gotta go with George Scott. Like Peter Sellers knocks it out of the park, and the fact that I didn't know it was him in all three roles until like the end of the movie it was evident enough that like he clearly knocked it out of the park. But to be fair, yeah, George C. Scott, he really kind of held that movie together with the energy, and yeah, even the flight crew, man, they were just like just solid performances. Yeah, it was overall a good movie.
There were a lot of them.
Yeah, for me, it's Peter Sellers too. Clearly, only 2 out of the 3, really. But even the
Still
2
2
that
out
I
of 3
really
ain't
liked, worked well. The George C. Scott, the two generals, the Lee Turgeson and the other one, and even like
Ripper.
the major and the plane. Like to me, these are like some of my least favorite characters in the movie because they're just so ridiculous. Like they don't feel like real people.
Tell me you don't see far more ridiculous characters in almost every comedy.
Like what? Like a Hot Shots or something like that, or
yeah, it had a
for
bit of a hot
anything,
shot.
any comedy. Most characters in comedies aren't nearly as believable as these characters.
Yeah, I guess it's like they're straddling this
You're
line
looking
between
for a serious movie, like because it is that sort of like.
Yeah, I think maybe that's part of what I'm struggling with in it too. Is like they go for like this strong believability. They go for like this playing it straight until it turns into this complete ridiculousness, and then you're just like, oh, it's very jarring. And it's like, and once they do it, I like once that president's like Dimitri, I'm like, I can't take this president seriously after this, and I don't think I'm supposed to, but like it's.
I love that though, where they have that super serious and commanding scene with him, and then all of a sudden, Dimitri,
and he's just like this whitey like guy. You can't do that in the war room, He's just got all these little
fighting
things.
in the war room.
There's no fighting.
No fighting in the war room.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, like I just think like some of it works better for me than other parts of it, But overall,
hit us with some morsels, Murphy.
Time for some morsels. You guys hungry? All right, let's do this.
Do it up.
All right.
Morsels theme.
Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Bomb from 1964. Peter Sellers was paid $1 million, 55% of the film's budget. Stanley Kubrick famously quipped, "I got 3 for the price of 6."
That's a good.
Was that a good deal, or was that not a good deal? You think at the time?
It's probably a lot of money back then.
I mean, that was
they wanted him to play 4 roles. They only
half the budget.
Movie. I don't know if this is one of your morsels, Murphy, but they only greenlighted the movie. The studio wanted Peter Sellers to play 4 characters because he had just. That was the only reason, and because he was supposed to play one of the other characters. Oh, he was supposed to play Kong as well.
Oh, yes, that is true. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to, and they switched that out at the end because he had just done a movie with Kubrick, Lolita, where he plays like 4 characters or something.
Yeah.
That, actually. So the studio, and that did very well. So the studio's like, all right, let's do that again. You can do your movie if Peter Sellers plays all the characters, basically.
Right, and then they brought in
Slim Pickens.
Slim Pickens for Major King Kong.
You don't really see that much anymore. Like people playing multiple roles in movies. It happens like when Eddie Murphy did it in like the 90s. It happens, but it's less common. Or maybe Peter Sellers is just a unique case,
Well, one of the things about this podcast, I would argue that's because actors were better than they are now. But because that's kind of one of my theses.
There were fewer of them, so the ones that
they were well trained. A lot of them Shakespearean and that sort of thing first, and then But whereas now you can sort of just get thrown into things because you're famous from something else.
And this is right before a lot of that was like when Hollywood changed, like especially I guess they're into the era of the Elvis movies, and I guess the beginning of the pop stars starring in movies. But yeah, like maybe there was fewer actors. It's kind of like pro athletes when there was only 6 NHL teams. Like all the hockey players seemed a lot better.
The teams
right?
were good.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't very watered down.
It's a decent little Skelhorn snack to go with these movie morsels. We got the U.S. government dismissed Stanley Kubrick's scenario of an accidental nuclear war as too far-fetched. However, the scene where Group Captain Mandrake is trying to get through to the Pentagon with the code to recall the bombers, but doesn't have enough change for the payphone, was shown at a session of Congress. Members said it raised legitimate questions about whether crucial information could find its way to the right people during a nuclear crisis.
Well, it's kind of like when the Independence Day came out, and they're like, "Do we have a plan in case aliens invade?" And they're like, "It turns out we don't." So maybe we should make one. Yeah.
So in the early 1960s, the B-52 was cutting-edge technology. Access to it was a matter of national security. The The Pentagon refused to lend any support to the film after they read the script. Set designers reconstructed the B-52's bomber's cockpit from a single photo that appeared in a British flying magazine. When some American Air Force personnel were invited to view the movie's B-52 cockpit, they said it was a perfect copy. Stanley Kubrick feared that Ken Adams' production design team had used illegal methods and could be investigated by the FBI.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
But this is the one part of this is where I was not clearly up on my history, but I was like, would they actually use B-52 bombers during this era? Because I always thought that nuclear missiles came out of like silos and submarines and other like launch sites like that. But,
well, no, Hiroshima, that was done with bombs.
Well, that's World War II. I mean, more like, I guess, like once the Cold War was like in the 1960s, this just struck me as like, oh, they were using B-52 bombers on the regular to like.
Well, I think that's part of it too, where like they didn't expect, like I think somebody in command probably knew that Ripper was nuts, and they put him somewhere unimportant. So he might just have all these old bombers and stuff because they put him somewhere where that's not a threat or something like that, where he wouldn't have the cutting edge technologies.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like it just I was like, I didn't know it came down to planes.
Might I offer another Skelhorn snack?
Sure.
This movie was supposed to be released on the day JFK got shot, so its release got delayed.
So it would have been a year earlier. Or 6 months probably, because 63 is when.
No, they released it like the week after.
Wasn't Kennedy killed in 63?
The movie was released on January 29th, 1964.
Oh. Oh, so and Kennedy was killed in like November of 63. So.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Maybe that's what I read.
I check. Since we're
anyway.
We're citing.
I'll keep going on with these morsels.
Oh yes, no, it was supposed to have been released. Yeah, in 60.
November 22nd, 63. Yeah, so it was like 2 months later.
Yeah. Okay.
While shooting aerial footage over Greenland, the second unit camera crew accidentally filmed a secret U.S. military base. The plane was forced down, and the crew was suspected of being Soviet spies. Peter Sellers improvised most of his lines, and one of the most significant is in the final scene when Sellers, as Dr. Strangelove, exclaims, "Mein Führer, I can walk!" According to Kubrick,
that made me laugh so much.
According to Kubrick, Peter said he couldn't promise to do the same thing twice, and he couldn't do anything more than 3 times. So the day we did the sequence, I had 6 cameras lined up, and he came in, and no one knew what he was going to do, himself included.
Yeah, sure.
That's so good. What a funny guy Peter Sellers is.
Jeez. Vera Lynn's climactic song, "We'll Meet Again, Don't Know How, Don't Know When,"
in this movie.
It's identified in Wikipedia's entry as one of the songs distributed in the BC's wartime broadcasting service with the intention of improving morale in the event of a nuclear exchange. The scene where General Turgensen trips and falls in the war room, which was actually one of my favorite scenes.
Me too.
Remember it?
I laughed.
Yeah, the scene where Turgensen trips and falls in the war room and then gets back up and resumes talking as if nothing happened really was an accident. Stanley Kubrick mistakenly thought that it was George C. Scott really in character, so he left it in the film. The 9th nuclear explosion shot in the end sequence is U.S. nuclear test Baker from Operations Crossroads. The first post-war nuclear test on the Bikini Atoll shot November 14th. Shot number 14 is Able from the scene Operation. Shot number 15 is Trinity, the first atomic explosion ever. I hope I explained that.
Yeah, it looked like a real footage in that part.
That's wonderful.
Getting on these final morsels here. The war room contains a large table of food because Stanley Kubrick intended to end the film with a custard pie fight between the Russians and the Americans. He decided not to use the footage because he found it too partial to fit the satirical nature of the rest of the film. The only known public showing of the pie fight scene was at the 1999 screening of the film in London's National Film Theatre.
I would rather have the pie fight instead of that Mein Führer stuff. I can walk.
What? Oh no, the pie fight would have been just hokey. Okay.
During the deleted pie fight scene, President Muffley took a pie in the face and fell down, prompting General Turgidson to cry, "Gentlemen, our gallant young president has just been struck down in his prime." Had not Stanley Kubrick already decided to cut the pie fight by the time President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, the line, or possibly the entire sequence, likely would have been cut due to its eerie similarity to real events. Right. So, like, oh, what a good line, but also, oh, what an eerie line. Towards the climax of the film, a Coca-Cola machine is shot to obtain coin change for a payphone. During much of the 1980s, Columbia Pictures, which released the film, was owned by the Coca-Cola Company. And the scene where Major Kong rides the missile most likely was inspired by a similar scene in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen in 1943, where the title character rides a cannonball into a building, which I gotta find this and check it out.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Right?
It's way harder to film.
Cinematography by Gilbert Taylor, edited by Anthony Harvey, and music by Laurie Johnson. Release date was January 29th, 1964, with a running time of 94 minutes. This movie had a budget of $1.8 million, and at the box office made $9.2 million.
Not bad.
Did okay.
Turns a little profit there. All right, those are fine morsels with Murphy. All right, rewatchability, fellas. For me, yes, I am definitely. I swear to you guys, I'm not making this up. I had the urge to rewatch this movie the very next day.
I believe you. I will never watch this again. But it's been fun. It was a fun ride. So, thanks.
Murphy.
I would probably rewatch it again. Yeah, just to appreciate some of the characters a little more. Yeah.
It's all about the characters.
Yeah, like the only downfall I really had in the movie was just like the exterior plane scenes, and that's just a downfall of the time and technology. That's nothing like outside of Kubrick's control. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, the budget too. So it's just like, if that's the only bad thing I can really like conceive of, this movie has got a bunch of rewatchability for me. It's pretty fun.
All right, so here's the question we all show up to ask and to answer: does it hold up? For me, my God, does it ever?
Wait, Dad, are you sure? You gotta think it over? Yeah.
No need to think it over anymore. I loved this movie. It just think about it. Those characters just makes me smile, and just watching them here, like for like the second or third time, because I watched a few clips before the show too. It didn't wear off. It's not like the B sharps where it gets less funny every time you see it.
Like for me, it's kind of yes, but it's also, I guess I have a caveat. Like it holds up fine as a film, and I think it's got its merits and definitely had its entertainment. But under the theme, does it hold up as a political movie or a movie about politics?
That's not the question. That's not the question, actually.
Okay, well, my answer to that question, which you didn't ask, would be no. But I would say that it does hold up overall as a film, yes.
No, the thematic part is just to tie a nice little bow on the movie choices, really, and to give us some discussion points, but similar discussion points.
Yeah, it's mostly just a direction to sort of like drive the episode in. It is the general question. It's like, does this movie hold up as its whole?
Yeah, we want to view these films just as films.
Okay.
So your answer is
just taking into account what they are.
Yes, it holds up.
For example,
like
if you look at our A movies here, do I think Matinee is the best movie ever? Well, one of them maybe. It's great, but like, do I think House Party is the best movie I've ever seen? No, but as a party movie, well, maybe through a theme, not like as it pertains to parties, but
because movies are like songs, right? And you might be in a mood. So you might be in a mood for a political movie, or you might be in a mood for a comedy, or maybe it's both. But
dark comedy,
a dark comedy. And so like this type of comedy, this type of movie is not for me. I don't enjoy it very much, and certainly not something I want to rewatch. But I don't hate it. I think it's got a message and it's kind of clever, but I also think it's kind of condescending, which we in our chat I compared it to.
I would like you to explain that. Actually,
well, I compared it to Don't Look Up.
Get that from it.
Which Don't Look Up was the movie that came
out. Like a movie to tell you a message that you think is obvious or like
it's so
already
obvious, and it's
in
so
the
like everyone is.
zeitgeist. Is
It's
that
like
it?
it's an obvious message, and they're like everybody is dumb. See how
But what
dumb these
about
people are. Like
but I ask you this, what do you do when a message that's obvious and played out still isn't taking root and still isn't getting the attention it needs? Like what do you do as an artist,
I don't
for
know if I
example,
don't know
when
if
you
it's
express
this, but
yourself through
but
film?
maybe
But
so.
I understand. I found Don't Look Up more condescending than this I just found funny. Like this was
This
all
is
those
better. This is
characters,
better than Don't
and
Look
like
Up. But
Don't Look Up is heavy-handed.
yeah. But
Like
I was getting
I
that
would
because I saw Don't Look Up before this. I was getting those vibes, and I was kind of reminded of that movie as I was watching it. And I was like, I don't like that part of the movie.
That's one of my complaints about modern movies is I find a great deal of them heavy-handed, and that's why I don't enjoy
over the
them as
top.
much. Oh, and just like I find modern creators or whatever it is in film, at least, I think their audience is dumb, or at least that maybe that's where the producers and the studio steps in. I don't know, but it's like everything just seems a little more dumbed down and a little like hit you over the head. Whereas this, again, it plays it straight in spots, and the satire is a little more subtle and a little more wacky.
Yes, it's more subtle. I think it's more nuanced, and I think it's a better piece. It's a better piece of art than Don't Look Up.
It doesn't talk down to you in like the way a lot of modern movies I find. It's just it is trying to hit you with a message that you may find obvious, but I guess I don't see that as condescension.
And that message is no fighting.
Because the characters aren't particularly competent. It's not like they're confronting.
Well, I think that's the part of it. I'm like, I think a United States, like the guy who went crazy aside, I feel like the other ones are just like, I'm like, these guys went to officer school. They're not like just some good old boy who they just got off off the street and they threw him into a plane.
Oh.
Like he would have had to have been like trained and disciplined and like have you met soldiers?
He
they
knew
don't
his
act like
business.
this.
When it was time to do the checklist, he had that all down. When it was
Yeah,
time to like give a speech to his boys,
He played that role seriously. Like
speech.
he
he was playing it
just when he
straight.
puts the cowboy hat on. I'm just like, what are you doing?
That's just him being him, I guess. He's a rodeo fella.
Anyway, so
I get it. Like it's just like he's a rodeo guy. He's not a pilot in the military, and that's obvious.
Yes,
I get that. So he just seems a little out of place in that.
Yeah, I'm like,
But
he doesn't feel like he doesn't feel right for the role. I guess is what it's kind of. But I get why he
Peter
chose
Sellers would have played it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna get you two to wrap this up here. We gotta get this show
Yeah,
on. I'm gonna say yes. The movie holds up. I'll say my part. Yes, the movie holds up. It's a solid piece of filmmaking. It is one of probably Stanley Kubrick's better films, and is a classic film that should be witnessed by all. The ending is haunting. The characters are enthralling, and considering what it is for what it was at the time, it is a solid movie that definitely holds up and gets love from me.
Did you give it a yes with caveats, Dave?
I gave it a yes. Basically, it's a yes, but I don't want to see it again.
It's just not your cup of tea.
Yeah, I think it's a strong piece of art, and it's a good film. It's just not my style.
You enjoy the characters, like the ones you like.
The ones I liked, and some of them worked better for me than others. But I would rather watch Hot Shots than this.
Again. You know what? I like Hot Shots.
Hot Shots is a fantastic film.
I don't think
Hot
it's
Shots
as good
Part
as
2.
this, but
Hot
Shots Part 2 I like as well.
Coming in hot, Topper. Perfectly fine.
It makes me
there goes my wing.
Very happy that I get to add Dr. Strangelove to the A-list.
Well, we got to give him one every now and then, folks.
Yeah.
Tell us in the comments what you think about.
I've come around since I watched it on Sunday, and I've come around over the last few days on this movie. So, like, compared to how I felt when it ended, because I was, like I mentioned, I was looking at it through this lens. I was looking at it through the lens of like, is this politics? It doesn't feel like politics. So, but,
well, let's move on to something that's apparently more political, shall
or not, depending on who you ask.
This one might get contentious.
This might be democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner, and I feel like that's what we got to get into here. But let's figure it out.
We got the American President on tap for this one in theater too. Dave, you're bringing that onto the table. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, The American President from 1995, directed and produced by Rob Reiner and written by Aaron Sorkin, bringing together the same team who had done A Few Good Men just a few years earlier. It's a movie about a fictional president, Andrew Shepard,
starring
Michael Douglas,
Annette Bening.
Martin Sheen, Michael J. Fox. Yeah. Who else is in this movie? Ron Canada's in this movie.
Which was Ron Canada in this movie?
He's like one of the reporters.
He was there for a second.
Yeah. Richard Dreyfuss plays the Republican challenger. There's a number of like it's a really strong actor. Yeah, John Mahoney from Frasier is like the environmental leader.
Got Wendy Malick in there to spice it up.
Oh yeah, Wendy Malick.
Yeah, this guy, I forget his name, but
his name's David Paymer. He's playing, Kodak.
Right. And so this movie is about a fictional president, Andrew Shepard, who's a popular Democrat, who's a widower. He's like, his wife died of cancer. He's a single dad, and he's in the third year of his first term. And he's looking like he's going to say he's very popular. He's got 60% approval rating. It looks like he's going to sail to re-election. But it's also like this thing about, well, this woman comes through, Annette Bening, played by Annette Bening, who's Sydney Ellen Wade, who's a lobbyist lawyer for the Environmental Committee, because they're pushing hard for reduction of fossil fuel, global warming, climate change. This is the politics of the movie, and while she comes through, he's like, oh, she seems cool. And like, he's kind of taken with her and he wants to ask her out on a date. And so it becomes about, well, what if the president wanted to go on a date with just a regular person and like a civilian, I guess, and what would that look like? Because that had never really taken place, even though he kind of mentions in the movie, like Woodrow Wilson had done that. And there were other, like Taft had been a president who had been married while being in office, but it's in the era of television in the 20th century. This is unusual, the whole thing, they're not married, the family values, and it's very much a product of its time, 1995, where it's the end of the 20th century. It's right before the Monica Lewinsky scandal. It's obviously before everything with Bush and Gore and that polarizing election that really kicked off like the modern era of politics that we know.
And it shows. It shows.
It shows.
But it feels still the era of like Clinton and George Bush and stuff. Hey Murphy, do you have a trailer?
I do actually.
All right, let's hit that.
Yeah, let's get into the trailer.
We've got a situation.
It is the highest level of office.
It's the world capital of politics.
Where the decisions made affect an entire nation.
Terrible choices.
This is not the American
President. They don't in this movie.
This is nation's biggest issues.
They're coming after us.
This is the West Wing, guys.
Wait, this isn't the American
President?
This
isn't it. This is not it. This is the West Wing, which is also by Aaron Sorkin.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Are we sure about that? Because it really felt like
the... Because I'm not sure. It seems so very, very...
Oh shit, it is the West Wing. Oh shit,
it's the West Wing. Who knew?
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And
wait.
Yes, this film does very much tie to the West Wing.
Dave,
because
Dave, I have a question for you.
Yes.
We asked you to bring a movie, and instead you brought the shitty romance episode of The West Wing.
I did not. Okay, you guys keeping up?
Okay. I'm sorry. I got the actual.
No, I have a point here.
No, put his foot down.
No, I put my foot down because you guys just don't like romance movies.
No, I love a good romance movie, but like the thing about this romance is there's about as much chemistry as a chalk mine. It's base, it's white, and it's dry as hell.
You don't think Michael Douglas and Annette Bening have chemistry?
God, no!
Michael Douglas is a particularly strong actor, especially in this movie. Like he comes off very samey in most of his movies, and this one, he just feels like he's reading the lines. And that's a common theme I find with both of these next two movies, and I find that maybe is a thing with like very political dialogue-driven movies, like even shows like The West Wing, is because I have seen some episodes of The West Wing where the characters just feel and sound like they're reading lines because it's all very fast.
It's Aaron Sorkin style.
Yeah, it's very Aaron Sorkin.
Process thoughts and like so that takes me out of the movie because everyone just seems very fake. They just seem like they're reading the script.
Okay, well, hang on. Hold your thoughts.
Martin Sheen is good.
Hold your thoughts.
They're all
Let's
good.
play
They're
the
all
actual trailer.
No,
this
they're
time.
all not good. All right, fine. We can rush the real one, I guess.
The president has asked me to convey to you that he's sending his energy bill to the floor with a call for a 10% reduction.
The president's
10%.
expecting our full support.
Yes, he is.
The
Sydney.
president's dreaming, AJ. The president has critically misjudged reality.
Seriously,
If
Dave,
he
it's like,
honestly
let's
thinks that
make
the
a movie
environmental
about,
community is
like,
going to whistle a happy tune
wet
while
blanket
rallying support
environmental
around this pitifully lame
legislation
mockery of
and, like,
environmental
feckless
leadership,
gun
then your
control.
boss is the
Like,
chief executive
What?
of
like,
fantasy.
non-issues, yes.
What do you mean non-issues? Take it down, Murphy. Take it down. I have to take it down. Like, what are you talking? Feckless issues.
It's even called out. Hold on, I gotta turn the
Change
skeleton
a
off.
feckless issue. What are you talking about?
She even calls it out in the friggin' movie. She's just like, your gun control, your crime bill won't stop any crime.
That's why he throws it out and he says, no, we have to do it. We have to start over and try again.
And even the environmental bill, in the terms that they discuss it in this movie, is just like not worthy of a movie. It's not like this groundbreaking thing. It's not talking.
It
about
was
this
in
great
1995.
political issue. No, it was not. It's not like they were like, let's go green energy. Let's go let's ban, let's go electric cars, or let's do some big grand thing worthy of a movie. No, let's have a movie about feckless gun control.
You
make no sense.
Rallying support around this pitifully lame mockery of environmental leadership just because he's a nice guy and he's done better than his predecessors.
You're right, Murphy. They have no chemistry. And honestly, she's not very good in this movie.
You're out to lunch. They
Take
have
him out back
amazing
and beat the
chemistry.
shit out of him.
That's a funny line. Take him out back and beat the shit out of him. That's the best line in the movie.
It's not my favorite line in the movie, but it's an interesting introduction. I actually like when he takes her into the Oval Office and there's that whole awkwardness, but then she turns like fierce about like, no, like, you want us to back you for re-election, you're gonna have to come with us. Like, I think Annette Bening does a lot to like establish herself as very competent in her role as this high-powered lawyer for the lobby group, but she's also trying to balance this romance.
I don't think she's very good in this movie.
I think she's
like
excellent
Dr.
in this
Strangelove,
movie.
I guess.
She's excellent. She was nominated for a
But
Golden
I
Globe
don't
for
think
this
either
movie.
of the two leads are good.
Well, you're wrong.
And like Michael J. Fox is just a straight
Okay.
He's just the fast talking, like, nuts and bolts guy.
Okay. Gentlemen, no fighting in the war room. All right. Let's let Dave finish the synopsis briefly before we start cutting him off and getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, okay.
Fair
So we
point,
set up that it's what if the
speaker.
president, the basic premise and how they sold the movies, like what if the president had a girlfriend? What would that look like? But beyond that, it's much more about there's a question of, should the president's personal life, should a public leader's personal life matter or not? And because they keep saying like, how can you do this? How can you date this woman and your daughter's sleeping down the hall? And
the character vote.
The character question.
Such mid-90s like soccer mom clutching pearls, like, oh, think of the children.
To me, that's just a silly, very American thing to ask in a movie.
Can I tell the plot without you guys cutting me off, like you just told me you would do? Every time I say something, you guys got to come in with all your little stuff.
This is a contentious one.
Well, you guys are being dicks. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, it's like you're like,
finish your synopsis.
You're just like, no, Annette Bening sucks. This sucks. I'm like,
they
get
together. Everyone wants to know if the crazy kids get together.
They get together. I get that the morality of it is 90s. It's very much an era of its time. This movie wouldn't be made now because it has to exist in the era it does. As I mentioned earlier, it's before Monica Lewinsky and the polarized politics, certainly before Trump, which I think completely changed our view of the president. But even the opening sequence of this movie is this montage looking at all the presidents and the photos, like Lincoln, who we're going to be talking about, that there are U.S. presidents who are revered, rightly or wrongly, Washington, Lincoln, FDR, whoever, right? And that's the movie, what the movie's trying to go for, that the prestige, what leadership's about. And so there's this whole thing about him trying to balance the environmental issues as well with his what he ran on, which is gun control and crime bill and all this kind of stuff, as well as there's other moments of things he has to deal with. He has to deal with like a union strike in St. Louis around Christmas. He has to go to
terrorist attack.
There's the Libyans attack Israel, and so he has to like respond to that. And
did these things actually happen in the movie? Because I know I watched this movie, but I admittedly kind of forgot.
You have to listen to the dialogue.
They're generally just a scene. Like
you have to listen to the dialogue and not worry about whether or not Annette Bening has chemistry with Michael Douglas or not. And then the other part of it is that because they have this relationship, the Sidney Ellen Wade and the president, she inadvertently tells him that she gives him information one day at a Christmas party that he could use to get his crime bill done, but it's going to mean selling out the environmental bill, which she had promised. He made this pledge to her to get the votes, to get the legislation passed, but if he can only get one, he was going to go for his crime bill. And so he kind of sells her out, and then she gets fired because the entire bill falls apart because she'd been lobbying to get the votes for the 20% reduction on fossil fuels. And so she gets fired, she leaves him, and then that's when he's resolved to Michael J. Fox makes this great speech about what leadership is about. The fact that he hadn't been engaging with this other character, Bob Rumson, who is this Republican challenger who's using the relationship with Sidney Ellen Wade and the president like to smear them, you know.
He's like so inconsequential in the movie.
He's
like
not really that important.
This villain or something, or like.
Well, he's the antagonist. If there, but he
barely is.
Yeah, he's just the one who's like, because he's attacking character and really and traditionally a presidential thing before this was always about issues, like character was less focused on. Today it's almost all about character, and that's really what the speech is that Michael Douglas gives at the end of the movie. He's like, being president, it might be partly about character. I can tell you it's all about character and why that matters and what you have to stand up for and realizing your mistakes. And then he comes around and she comes back to him and he's able to run, and then the movie ends. So that's kind of like he's able to find a way to be the president and have a girlfriend and try to balance all the issues and kind of come to a sense about what's right, you know, and doing the right thing. And that's the movie. All right, guys, get into all
the plot storytelling.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Murphy, do you want to go first?
Okay. I mean, how can I put this? The first time I paused this movie was 13 minutes in.
Yeah, I have to cut in here now. Okay. Yeah. Yes. The exact scene is where I first time checked. This exact scene.
What's wrong with this scene?
This exact moment. This is the moment.
It wasn't.
Look at the time to see if the movie was almost over.
No, it's not even. It wasn't even for me to see if the movie was over. I just wanted to see.
Nothing had happened yet.
Yeah, I wanted to see how much time had passed. And
it's just an exposition scene, guys, where he's explaining.
No, but what we're saying is the entire this is at about 13 minutes, and
yeah,
for me,
when I first told Davan I watched this. When I first watched this movie and I told Davan I watched it, I was like 13 minutes in. I paused it to check the time, and then I paused it like 6 more times to check the time of the movie. It's generally not a great sign that it's a good movie if I'm pausing to check the time. And then he watched the movie. And
what happened? I'm still not getting it.
Because it felt like it had been quite a long time, and nothing had happened, and it had all been incredibly boring, and I hadn't cared about any of the characters.
There's no weight
this feels
to
like
the
a
dialogue.
long time for nothing to it. Nothing. Like it's like I think Jaemeel put it best, where he says a lot of things are happening in this movie, and they're all quite uninteresting.
Actually, he just made a comment here. Global warming isn't the politics of the film. It is about the rise of the political celebrity becoming more important than the platform of the candidates themselves.
Yes, and that's my problem with this movie, which I'll get into after Murphy.
Well, it's kind of both, but he's right that I'd say that it's more about like what you're able to criticize a public figure based on their character, their personal life, how much that should matter or not, you know, how much the public has a right to have a say in it, you know, like the American people shouldn't have a say in my personal life. And you know, like the American people have a funny thing of figuring out what they think is important, you know, and what voters think that they think is important or not. So it's whether it's right or wrong. That's kind of the nature of democracy.
Sure, but like there's also just like the whole like film, like the scene. This is where it really starts, because like again, it's hard to get into a rom-com about the president when the romance of the two main characters feels like chalk or rock.
Yeah, you don't like the romance. I can't do anything about that. So
that's fair.
The
But
movie
like,
should have done something about that.
This
Because
they did.
could have
Like,
had two actors that had chemistry.
They have
Okay,
chemistry.
Scenes,
That's just
there's
your
not
opinion.
enough scenes of them developing in a relationship. They have
All
this
right, all
one
right.
dance. He calls
Yeah,
her
but,
once,
like,
and
That's
next
just
scene, she's like,
your
by the
two
way, I'm
opinions.
in love
Fair
with you.
enough, but this movie is very successful, very popular, and lots of people think they have chemistry.
Oh, I'm sure it's popular in America, and I'll get into that.
My mother loves this movie. Loves it.
And that's the thing about this movie is this is a movie for grandmothers, right? At the end of the day, this is a grandmother's
Grandmothers are
romance
people
movie.
too.
No, and that's absolutely
I agree
fair.
with you, Dave. Grandmothers are
That's
people too. And they
grandmothers
deserve
are people too.
But-
They're the best people in the world, hands down. And we should love them and cherish them. And they deserve movies too. It's just I'm not a grandmother. I'm, a
Nor
36-year-old
am I, but I saw
guy,
this as a
but
kid, and I fell in love with this movie, and I think that they do have chemistry. Now, you can that's like saying, like, I don't know, like you see a couple, are they good together or not? Like, I don't know, that's all opinion. So,
Well, but this is a movie. Like
Yeah.
there are undeniable chemistries between actors in movies.
At the end of the
And
day,
this
here's
is certainly
the thing.
not one of them.
You can deny it. It's so easy to deny.
Here's the biggest problem with the film for me. It's a Rob Reiner film.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of Rob Reiner films I enjoy, if any. He's a great actor. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but as like a filmmaker, he's dull, and it just comes through in every aching minute of this film.
Okay,
And
that's what it is. Okay, so you don't like Rob Reiner's style, but it's fine.
It's mostly in part with Rob Reiner's style and the general portrayal of the characters that are delivering the lines. I'm not saying the content of the movie isn't great. Like they do deal with some somewhat important political issues during the 90s, and a lot of it's more or less like I sold you out so I could get my gun and criminal bill, which won't amount to anything, so you couldn't get your 10% on emissions, which again won't amount to anything. It's a lot of politics that didn't amount to anything, so therefore the dialogue in the film felt weightless and
just not worthy of a movie.
But guys, I have to disagree with you. Like these are issues we're dealing with today.
We are, and that's why their dialogue
are they
felt
exciting
completely
enough for a
empty.
movie. Like,
Yeah.
is there a movie
What
being
would be?
made
Nuclear
right now
war?
about
Is that the
Canadian?
only thing?
No, but is there a movie being made right now about Canadian emissions reductions? It's like, of course not, because no one in their right mind would make that movie. So here's my biggest problem with this movie, and
I reject that too. But okay, that's fair.
It was probably defeated in my mind on its way in, because to me, I felt dirty when this was done, because I felt like I willingly just watched propaganda for an hour and a half. Like, do you guys remember the Street Fighter
I don't
movie?
feel like I got that out of it, but go on.
Do you guys remember the Street Fighter movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember when they show Blanca the videos of like war and
Yes,
like
I
violence
see
to
where you're
make
going
him
at.
a killer?
Yeah.
I feel like if you wanted to create a Blanca who just loved America blindly, you would just show them this movie. Because it's like Dave, I was voicing this to Dave earlier. He's just like, I agree, it's like idealized and like that type of thing. And
Yes.
like perhaps even like, but to me, that's not just a benign thing. To me, the problem, I'm a plant guy, fellas. I'm a horticulturalist. I look at the root and the things that grow from the root, and I see a big problem. Like, wouldn't it be, how strange would it be if a similar movie of like this was made about Justin Trudeau, or literally any Canadian prime minister there has ever
It wouldn't happen.
and it would never happen. It would never, and there's good reasons to why that would never happen, and all those good reasons legitimately apply to the U.S. as well. But the U.S. makes a celebrity out of everything, and this is where I'm going to get political, I guess, for a minute. This is the politics episode. I don't think that's a benign thing. I think the reason you can't pass gun control in the U.S. stems from this very same thing. I think the reason the U.S. is so slow to change, like the metric system, taking it for example, is because of this idea that things, by just virtue of being American, are better and more important than their equivalents elsewhere.
Yes.
And I think that's a bad thing, and this movie is dripping with it.
Okay.
To
Well,
me, I don't care
how
about a
bad?
romance between somebody who they're playing up as this unrealistically virtuous and nice guy president. You don't get that far in politics by being that person.
But that's
And like,
Aaron Sorkin's style, okay, and that's where I think you need to suspend disbelief.
no, the newsroom wasn't that like dripping with
Yeah,
this.
see,
Like,
that's
it had
the
those
thing.
moments,
but The West
it
Wing
certainly
was.
had those. Well, I didn't like The West Wing for very much the same reasons, and I don't think that's the West Wing that I did see. I don't think they had quite that idea.
West Wing is still Aaron Sorkin. He's going for this aspirational, like, what if the best
it's just
good people? Hold on, like the best, like the best people who were actually noble. You're right. Like on a bunch of your points, that the United States has a very different reverence for their history, a glorification because it's born out of war. It's even their anthem is like, all about how they marched along and like and the bombs were
literally every country was born out of war.
Right, but what makes them different than Canada, the United Kingdom, is that the American president is also, even the president of France, who's also in this movie, the president of the United States,
president of France in this movie
during the state dinner, in the state dinner.
Oh yeah,
right. And the president is the head of state and the head of government in the United States. So they and because it comes from, their country comes from like the time of kings and whatever, like they very much do think of the president, or they especially used to, as like a king, and somebody who's above, somebody who's more noble and righteous and above, like a George Washington, or somebody like who's like they consider completely virtuous, even though obviously George Washington has his issues too, or an Abraham Lincoln, who we're going to be talking about, that these are people, they're not just ordinary people, but then there's also like
That's
this
gross to me. Is that gross to you?
A little bit,
Like,
a little bit.
Let me ask you this, Dave. If this movie was made about any Canadian prime minister ever, would you like that movie, or would you find it gross?
I would still like it. I guess if this movie was about a fictional country that they just made up, I would still like this movie, but I can recognize I wouldn't call it, what did you call it? Propaganda. I wouldn't call it propaganda. It's a romanticized version, an aspirational version of what America could be, how America could be the most noble country who stands up for the right things, and they kind of are. America is a mixed bag.
I don't think it does do that, because it doesn't create the situations that make that so. It's just everybody. It's just like stupid things, like the president running into a flower shop and like the girl fainting. It's like, the president.
Yeah, well, that stuff I think is not my favorite part.
Like, to me, that's like one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in a movie.
Disgusting?
I found that, yes, disgusting. To think that someone should think that highly of any president, of any politician ever. To put that in a movie. You've put in your movie that someone should be so impressed by a politician that they faint at the sight.
It's not like they made it up out of thin air.
So brainwashing.
It's not like they pulled it out. It's not like they pulled it out of thin air. Like, yeah, if the president came up, or if you met Tom Cruise tomorrow, or somebody like famous.
I swear I would not faint if I met Tom Cruise.
Well,
I
don't think most people would faint per se, but like I think most people, if they encountered somebody famous, they would. They would have a reaction.
But even that is like not a thing to like promote and put in your movie. Like, there was that scene had no purpose other than to like.
It's a weird thing to be hung up on. Like,
glorify. But what is its purpose in the movie other than to glorify the office of a politician?
That the president's
and make
trying.
Him seem like this cool superhero.
They're trying to
like
portray
Superman.
this thing that the president, like the whole thing. Where are my credit cards? What if the president wanted to order flowers? They couldn't. Like, they're kind of. Separate. The president is so isolated from the rest of society and the rest, because of the Secret Service and the White House and everything else. He's just like, hey, I just want to call a flower shop, and she's like, what do you mean? I will do that for you, sir. And so it's also the president trying to be. This president in this movie is trying to be less of the monster you want to make him to be, like this oligarch, but he's not. He's trying to be more down to earth, more relatable.
Demonizing as an oligarch with somebody that has more power than he actually has, or anything like that. It's just this glorification of celebrity.
But that's how the president was always looked at. But it's not. But it's realistic.
Why do I want to watch that in a movie? If I think.
Well, I gotta say,
if someone showed a movie where like Stephen Harper was walking down the street and somebody walked into a store and somebody fainted because it was Stephen Harper, like, you would think that was so stupid and you'd probably find it a turnoff and like a bit.
But this is like
disgusting,
it.
just
He's supposed to be
why
like.
does that not apply?
Okay,
when it's an
enough.
American movie. You know what I mean? Why does America get this pass on all these all this raging propaganda when it comes to films?
They're good at
this
it.
This very same reason.
They've been number one for years.
But it's not effective in things like this. Like this very same take on a movie ruined The Majestic for Murphy and I. We enjoyed the film aspects of that movie, but when they just lathered the how celebrity great America is, it just it derailed the entire film at the end. They just added this 45
I guess it depends on how you view the United States coming into the movie too. Like your viewpoint politically.
I view them as a country like any other, and any other country wouldn't weirdly make a movie like this. No one cares about who their political leaders are dating as far as making a movie of it in any other country.
What about this whole thing with Harry and Meghan right now? We keep going on about that.
Yeah,
that's
he put you
thing. It's the same thing because the president of the United States is also the head of state, whereas in our country the prime minister is not. It's the governor general, and it's all this kind of in the royal family.
No, but
and
it's
all this
not.
shit.
The governor general can't.
I know, but but we don't have that.
We don't have the same political.
Their country is different than ours.
But I don't. What's the significance of that?
What's the significance of what?
Okay, I'm gonna stop this right here. We're not gonna get into the significance of the politics of what presidency is what. No. What we're gonna ask is what scene from this. No, damn it! What we're gonna ask is what scene from this movie held up for you guys.
All right, to me, just when he says beat the shit out of them, everything else I could leave.
Him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Good morning.
Oh, good. Okay, Murphy, what's yours?
For me, honestly, it's the Walk of Shame. That was the one scene that kind of stuck out and gave me a chuckle.
Okay. Interesting.
What are you doing?
I wanted to leave the building before the press corps got here.
I have those same thoughts every day of my life.
I like his charm when he says lines like that. You know, Michael Douglas definitely cares.
He's very to me, he's very charismatic in this movie.
What?
Come on in, Louis. Good morning, Mr. President.
I just find him so phony because he sounds the same in everything, and it's never this is.
That's just your opinion, man.
And this is what cop Michael Douglas sounds like, and this is what lawyer is. So it's it's all the same guy.
Camped out at every exit.
So it's
you don't like Michael Douglas. I don't have to tell you.
President? Well, I don't. Really. So
the press is camped out. See, okay, this is what I like about this scene is that she's trying to be all sneaky and get out, and they already are coming through the door and being like, "We caught you. We gotta heal this."
Yeah,
just one after another.
It's funny. There's a comedy to this, but this is not really a rom-com.
Martin Sheen. But here's the thing, though. If it's not the romance that's the point of this movie, then the point of this movie is all this just
it's both. It's more than one thing.
No big issue.
Say what you want. It's always a guy in my job.
I don't think it knows what it is, what it wants to be.
I think
is it a romance or is it an episode of The West Wing? What is it?
It's a little bit. It's more like a feature-length version of The West Wing.
With a romance plot.
Were there no romance plots in The West Wing?
That's what I say. It's just like the shitty romance episode of the show. It's like a Deanna
so
Troy
dismissive.
Romance
shitty romance.
No,
I don't like it. Blah blah blah.
Tell me,
talking about?
You know you don't.
He is a bit dismissive.
You don't like the Deanna Troy romance episodes of TNG any more than I do.
Oh, I love them.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
that's my point. Romances are usually handled very clunkily in they're usually not interesting enough to carry
this movie's
a
fairy
TV
tale story
or a movie.
But it
is a fairy tale, but not one.
For me, the one last scene that I found kind of stood out in this film was what is arguably what I felt like was the most political scene, really, which is just the people gerrymandering. Yeah. I just liked how it was shot and put together.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I like the fix-it guys in Lincoln. They're my guys.
Sydney, everybody cares about the environment during a phone survey. On election day, nobody gives a damn. That's why you have a job.
Congressman Pennybaker, on election day, people give a damn about what I tell them to give a damn about. That's why I have a job.
Like, but why?
And nobody seems like, again, this is Aaron Sorkin, but nobody seems like a real person in this, except for Martin Sheen.
We're coming off Dr. Strangelove. I want to remember talk about people who don't seem like real people.
This is a serious movie, though. That's a crazy satire comedy.
20%. 3 more votes, the president sends it to the Hill.
3 more votes.
Like this, and I like politics and political intrigue.
This is government. This is like this is a realistic.
This is just nuts and bolts stuff, though. This is just like watching.
This is very cogwheel.
So.
Yeah, it's just, but like, why is that worthy of a movie? I guess is what we're getting at.
Because if you like politics, this is good. If you like government,
you could just watch real politics. That's even more exciting than this because it's real. I know we're driving Dave nuts here.
You're driving me nuts.
What's your
critiques are so petty and they're so like just
I
like
don't think
opinionated.
I think I was pretty deep with my critiques.
Like some of them, but like yes, I agree with you on the whole like reverence around the United States and everything. But to say these people don't seem like real people,
do you think this is dripping in that? Like, don't you think 90% of this movie is just that?
It's not like if you're. I'm viewing it as a Canadian. I'm not American, so yes, I'm an outsider looking in, and I can see the masturbatory tendencies they have, the self-grandizing they have, and like everything else. Yes, of course, but it's also there's a charm to it. I see that the Americans in general, and what Rob Reiner's going for in this movie is like a real love of their country and of their history.
He's a believer.
He's a believer, you know, and I know that there's
but I find that blind faith in country very strange as well. Like
me too, but it's also endearing. And
so,
it's
like
also,
again, so it's all these things that you agree with me. You find,
but I don't know. I kind of agree. I see your point, or I see the issues, but I don't have the same reaction as you. Yours is disgust, and mine is like, well, that's that's how they are.
Disgust when it's this dripping, like a little bit of that in something is fine. Like a lot of American movies have.
Okay. I got to stop you here for a second, Davan. You're ragging on it heavy. You think it's a dripping political propaganda, self-suck Americana fest. You're not entirely wrong, but you're not entirely right either. It is those things, but it's not to the degree in which you're lambasting us right now.
It's not going to create a Blanca.
All this movie was. I agree. To me, that's all this movie was.
To you, yes, to
Most
you.
scenes are just
But Davan,
the
Davan, to you, yes, but to Dave, who looks at this with nostalgia, he sees a lot more into it. For me, a person who's pretty much right down the middle, I could be as centrist as possible with this film. I looked at it from a technical standpoint. I looked at it from an entertaining standpoint. I looked at it from just the people delivering the lines. I love Aaron Sorkin's writing. He's written better films. Not a big fan of Rob Reiner's filmmaking in general. Therefore, it's already kind of like lacking in that aspect. It's very much feels like a TV show. There are things about this film that weren't appealing to me as watching it, and it felt a bit dry and boring. I honestly felt like I was going through a journey of a chalk mine and just watching these people like try and put emotion and weight to lines that it's subject matter that legitimately, like, yes, they on paper they should be important, but the way these folks delivered it did not feel important. And ultimately I felt ridiculed, or not ridiculed, but I just felt not entertained by it to a point where it's like I want to be enthralled. And I felt that with the later film Lincoln. But that being said, before we get to that, Dave, what were your scenes that you felt held up?
I have two. The first one is it's a scene between Michael J. Fox, and it's in the Oval Office, and Michael Douglas is Andrew Shepard, and it's about, he's like, they're going on about my life. This poll, the fact that his approval rating keeps dropping and dropping, and he's like, but I'm doing everything right. I'm solving these issues. I'm trying to do everything I campaigned on. And, Michael J. Fox wakes him up. He's like, hey, you don't get to decide what the voters care about. Like, that's not that it's they decide. That's how democracy is.
AJ, she is one vote away. It's important legislation that for the first time has a legitimate chance. She deserves every opportunity.
You meant hit, didn't you, sir? You meant the important legislation deserves every opportunity.
Louis, shut up. You have something to say to me, Louis?
Respectfully, sir, I think we should examine the new poll for something more than its value.
Examine
as a
what?
box
They don't like
score.
that I'm going out with Sydney.
It's not that simple. I think that this poll brings a murky problem into specific relief.
Whose problem we talking about, Lewis? Yours? You worried about losing your job? Because this poll isn't talking about my presidency. This poll is talking about my life. 264 million people.
264 million people don't give a damn about your life. They give a damn about their own.
All right, that's enough.
Not wrong.
Mr. President, you raised a daughter. Almost entirely on your own. And she's terrific. So what does it say to you that in the past 7 weeks, 59%
This is
of this
coming off
country
pretty wooden.
has begun to question your family values?
The president doesn't answer to you, Lewis.
Oh, yes, he does, AJ. I'm a citizen. This is my president. And in this country, it is not only permissible to question our leaders, it's our responsibility. But you already know that, don't you, Mr. President? Because you have a deeper love of this country than any man I've ever known.
Oh my God.
And I want to know what it says to you that in the past 7 weeks, 59% of Americans have begun to question your patriotism.
Look, if people want to listen to...
They don't have a choice! Bob Rumson is the only one doing the talking. People want leadership, Mr. President. In the absence of genuine leadership, they'll listen to anyone who steps up to the microphone. They want leadership. They're so thirsty for it, they'll crawl through the desert toward a mirage, and when they discover there's no water, they'll drink the sand.
Lewis,
Music is also
we've had
god
presidents
Music's
who
amazing.
loved, who couldn't find a
What?
coherent sentence with 2
Yeah.
pens and a flashlight.
It's the most like recycled
People don't drink the
Rob
sand
Reiner
because
shit
they're
ever.
They're
thirsty.
so full of it. They're so full of
They
it.
drink the sand.
You like this music?
Yes!
They drink the sand because they don't know the difference. I'm with you, Dave. Like, it's a good line. Like, it's definitely like good dialogue there. It's just the delivery of
Davan,
it.
I don't know what to do with you, man. You don't like anything. You're just negative.
I love
negative.
Dr.
I can't
Strangelove.
help you. Go to therapy. You gotta get through some issues here, bud.
I like Lincoln too.
You're like, I don't like this music. What do you mean? It's like an amazing score. I love
It's
the
just
music.
boring, but it's just typical. You know, it's very typical.
Like,
It's just like it's not interesting. Like a nice, like weird Danny Elfman score or something.
the next scene I would like to point to is the amazing speech that he gives to the press corps later on, where he's lost Sydney at this point. Everything's falling apart. And it's after the conversation he had with Michael J. Fox about, like, you know, the people are going to drink the sand. And he's like, people don't know the difference. And yet, basically, Michael J. Fox inspires him to get up and actually like get into a character debate. And then he's like, and I'm going to change my whole thing. And this is really like the climax of the movie. I remember when Donald Trump was elected. This is a scene I went to, and I was like, you know what? Like, this is what a president should be, not this fuck. So that's here we go.
The last couple of months, Senator Rumson has suggested that being president of this country was to a certain extent about character. And although I've not been willing to engage in his attacks on me, I've been here 3 years and 3 days. And I can tell you without hesitation, being president of this country is entirely about character. For the record, yes, I am a card-carrying member of the ACLU, but the more important question is, why aren't you, Bob?
What is the ACLU?
American Civil Liberties Union.
Is to defend the Bill of Rights. So it naturally begs the
anti-government,
question,
sorta.
why would a senator, his party's most powerful spokesman, and a candidate for president choose to reject upholding the Constitution? Now, if you can answer that question, folks, then you're smarter than I am, because I didn't understand it until a few hours ago. America isn't easy.
You'll find this a very engaging
America.
speech.
I love the speech.
Advanced citizenship. You gotta
want it bad.
because it's gonna put up a fight. It's gonna say, you want free speech?
There's just no
Let's see you
stakes in
acknowledge
this
a man
movie,
whose words
except
make
whether
your
he
blood
gets his
boil,
girlfriend
who's
or
standing
not.
center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours. You want to claim this land as a land of the free? Then the symbol of your country cannot just be a flag. The symbol also has to be one of its citizens exercising his right to burn that flag in protest. Now show me that. Defend that. Celebrate that in your classrooms. Then you can stand up and sing about the land of the free. I've known Bob Rumson for years, and I've been operating under the assumption that the reason Bob devotes so much time and energy to shouting at the rain was that he simply didn't get it. Well, I was wrong. Bob's problem isn't that he doesn't get it. Bob's problem is that he can't sell it. We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious
people
to
Davan.
solve them. And whatever your particular problem is, I promise you, Bob Rumson is not the least bit interested in solving it. He is interested in two things, and two things only: making you afraid of it, and telling you who's
Same
to
thing
blame
as you,
for it. That,
getting
ladies and
elected.
gentlemen, is
Like,
how
don't
you
give
win
me this shit.
elections. You gather a group of middle-aged, middle-class, middle-income voters who remember with longing an easier time, and you talk to them about family,
Should have said this, you'd be like, dude, you
American
pop
values,
his
and
ass.
character. And you wave an old photo of the president's girlfriend, and you scream about patriotism. You tell them she's to blame for their lot in life. And you go on television, and you call her a whore. Sidney Ellen Wade has done nothing to you, Bob. She has done nothing but put herself through school, represent the interest of public school teachers, and lobby for the safety of our natural resources. You want a character
Ain't
to
someone
date,
with
Bob?
absolutely no
You
chemistry.
better stick with me, because Sidney Ellen Wade is way.
And keep doing your jabs. It's all right. You can't help yourself.
I can't help it.
You're so clever.
That's the point.
I've loved two women in my life. I lost one to cancer, and I lost the other because I was so busy keeping my job, I forgot to do my job. Well, that ends right now. Tomorrow morning, the White House is sending a bill to Congress for its consideration. It's White House Resolution 455, an energy bill requiring a 20% reduction of the emission of fossil fuels over the next 10 years. It is by far the most aggressive stride ever taken in the fight to reverse the effects of global warming. The other piece of legislation is the crime bill.
Oh my god, can we
As
just
of
cut this
today,
off?
it no
It's
longer
going forever,
exists.
and it's like,
I'm throwing
All
it
right,
out.
fine.
God.
I'm throwing it out.
And
No,
Is there a
we're
good
gonna
line at
watch.
the end
We're
or
gonna watch
something?
the whole
Like,
thing. There is.
You cannot address crime prevention without getting rid of assault weapons and handguns. I consider them a threat to national security, and I will go
This is
door
just
to door if I have
Davan.
to.
What is wrong with you, David? Do you have no heart?
I do have heart, but this movie
You've
doesn't.
got serious problems, and we need serious people. And if you want to talk about character, Bob, you better come at me with more than a burning flag and a membership card.
It's just a
If you
politician
want to
talking
talk
about how great he
character
thinks
and
he is.
American values, fine. Just tell me where and when, and I'll show up. This is a time for serious people, Bob, and your 15 minutes are up.
Yeah, I'll vote for you,
My
bud.
name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
My name's William Shatner, and I am Canadian. Anyway.
That's one of my favorite
Hey,
speeches
Murphy.
in any movie ever.
Why?
Because it's inspirational.
What's inspirational about that? That like
The whole
he thinks
thing?
he's a better political candidate than his rival.
That it's about character. It's about standing up for what's right. It's about.
Is that not what literally every politician says every election? Is this not?
David,
just the most
I don't know how to
basic,
cure your
mundane-
cynicism and your like
But
mistrust.
is it not? Is this is that very speech not something you've basically heard from every politician in every election ever?
No.
I think it is.
Well, then we don't see the world the same way. Don't know what to tell you, bud. I'm almost. Can we move on? I'm so sick of it.
David's riled up.
I think it's time.
Whose performance would you hold up?
For me, it's Michael Douglas.
For me, yeah, I guess
Give it to
Michael
Ron
Douglas.
Canada.
Ron Canada.
Got like 3 lines.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Ron Canada. That was the most interested I got during the movie.
Yeah, I guess Michael Douglas is probably the best performance. So hold up for me myself. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that brings us to morsels. Hey, did you run the numbers, Murphy? Do you have the amount of American flags soiled by a jacklet during the making of this movie? That's the morsel I was waiting for, and you're usually on top of that stuff, so I'll be disappointed if you don't have the the numbers there.
All right, so the American President in 1995 with these movie morsels. I'm not gonna lie, the movie morsels were pretty fucking boring, and I had some trouble finding ones that seemed decent. But here's the ones that I pulled out. Before the movie started shooting, Michael J. Fox was still keeping his Parkinson's disease a secret. He felt he would lose the role if Rob Reiner found out. During a basic and routine fitness screening, Fox was terrified that clinicians would detect the periodic shaking in his left hand and eventually connect it to Parkinson's. Fortunately for Fox, he took his medication in time to quell the shaking, and the test amounted to nothing more than checking heart rate and blood pressure.
I don't know. I thought I noticed it in a scene, and that's why
There was a couple scenes where you could tell he was definitely trying to keep it under wraps. Yeah. Robert Redford, whose Wildwood Productions co-produced the film, was originally cast in the lead role. He was replaced with Michael Douglas after falling out with Rob Reiner. Redford, however, remained on board as a producer.
I think
Which would have been better with Redford.
No, it wouldn't.
100%.
I like Michael, but you don't like Michael Douglas, so I don't know what to tell you. No. You're a Michael Douglas hater.
The telephone number President Shepard gives Sidney to call him back, 456-1414, is in fact the number to the White House, area code 202. Tell them we say hey. Camp David is strictly off limits to the public, and media production designer Lily Kilbert used someone's personal snapshots from the Richard Nixon era and a lot of imagination when designing the set.
Yeah, and I think you're probably gonna hit on this next, but isn't the Oval Office set like been used in a bunch of movies that they built for this movie?
So the Oval Office set was originally constructed for Dave in 1993, and
it's from Dave.
And used for The West Wing in 1999, and this movie and Devery Smith has appeared in all three productions.
I think it's in Independence Day. I think it's the same white Oval Office set.
I was wondering about that. It looks like Independence Day. I think it is.
Yeah.
It's one of the few rare PG-13 movies allowed to keep its PG-13 rating, despite the use of the word "fuck" 3 times, all within 15 minutes of each other, but none used in sexual context.
Oh, well, that's all that matters. Don't get
The beer I'm drinking is called Hazy Dave's.
Hazy Dave's. That's it.
Prior to Aaron Sorkin joining the project, early versions of the script depicted President Andrew Shepard as a military veteran and former special ops agent. Rob Reiner discussed the lead role with Bruce Willis and Steven Seagal before Sorkin rewrites transition Shepard to more academic character.
Hold on, guys.
I can't believe that. Seagal?
Yeah.
Or
Bruce Willis or Steven Seagal would have been the president of this movie at one point in the writing of this script.
Not Seagal. Like, he can't act. Like, you'd see Bruce Willis at least maybe playing the president in a movie.
Maybe, but Steven Seagal, it was 95, you know? It was the height of Steven Seagal.
That proves you all your theories about Rob Reiner. If he was willing to cast Steven Seagal as the lead in anything.
He was going to put Steve. Wait, I missed that. Steven.
He was going to cast Steven Seagal as the lead in this movie.
What?
Prior to Aaron Sorkin joining the project, early versions of the script depicted President Andrew Shepard as a military veteran and former special ops agent. Rob Reiner discussed the lead role with Bruce Willis and Steven Seagal before Sorkin's rewrites transitioned Shepard to a more academic character.
That's who you put your faith in, Dave. That man.
Well, Bruce Willis, I think, would have been fine, but Steven Seagal would be awful. That's the worst idea I've ever heard.
President Shepard says to his chief of staff, AJ McInerney, Martin Sheen, someday someone is going to have to explain to me the virtue of a proportional response.
A proportional response, yeah.
In The West Wing 1999, President Martin Sheen asks his chief of staff, what is the virtue of a proportional response? Both were written by Aaron Sorkin. Australian labor...
That was the one line that stood out to me in this movie, actually. What is the virtue?
This is the least presidential thing I do?
Australian Labor Party MP Anthony Albanese plagiarized parts of the President Andrew Shepard's speech for his 2012 National Press Club address.
It's a good speech.
This is just like every speech given by every politician during every election ever.
Jessica Lange, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon were all considered for the role of Sydney.
Oh my God, Susan Sarandon would have been so much better in this. My
She would have
God,
been.
they really squandered the casting in this, in my opinion. They had, I mean, not the Seagal thing, changing their mind there.
Let's move on to the next fact, so Davin can
Well,
add how it would have been better or worse or something like that.
Well, that's actually my last movie morsel because I was sort of crunched on time for getting them, and these are the ones that kind of stood out. So, cinematography is by John Seal, edited by Robert Layton. Release date of November 17th, 1995, the running time of 113 agonizing minutes. Budget $62 million. Box office $107.9 million.
Do you guys got to be such dicks? I don't get it. Like, just say 113 minutes. You don't have to put agonizing minutes. Not necessary. So
no, look, I gave it to Murphy just as bad for Southland Tales and I Heart Huckabees.
This is not Southland Tales. This is not Southland Tales.
But I would say it's still in the same herpes Huckabees.
I don't know if it's worse than Southland Tales. I don't know. Like, they're both as meaningless, but whatever.
I am done talking about this movie with you two.
All right, let's move on. Rewatchability.
Absolutely, no. I watch it every year.
Every year? Yeah. Why? When? Like on Thanksgiving or something, or President's Day, or like the 4th of July? Like, what are you doing?
I love it.
How many? Anyway, moving on. Does it hold up?
Are you guys gonna watch this again?
No,
I imagine not.
Does it hold
15
up?
minutes in, I was already mad about how boring it was. But anyway, does it hold up? Not for me. It's just propaganda.
It holds up, absolutely.
It just doesn't hold up for me because I just found it like the chalk line, boring, base, and white.
It's fine. I'll be the dissenter. 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner. That's what this whole segment was about.
You've saved it and knocked it into the B section. You saved it from a C, Dave.
All right. Well, it's time to get into an actual political film, a real gem, if you will. We're stepping into Theater 3, and we're going to be checking out the Steven Spielberg classic, Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Tommy Lee Jones, Sally Field, James Spader, and so many more, including Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and we've got Alex Driver that makes an appearance.
What's the fella from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh,
and he played the leader in The Incredible.
Yes. Yeah, no, wait, we're thinking about the same guy.
Jackie Earl Haley? Is that what you mean?
No, yeah, he's in it too, but no.
Yeah, I love Jackie Earl Haley. I can't remember. Oh, he's in
3 names as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm completely blanking on his name. He's the guy that's
James Spader's buddy in it. Like, they're part of the same.
Yeah, he's the dude in the middle of the 3. I feel so bad that I'm forgetting his name right now. But he's in that HBO Western that was dope back in the day, Deadwood. What's his name? John Hawkes, who's played Robert Latham. Yeah, John Hawkes.
No, that's not who I'm talking about.
No, you're not talking about John Hawkes? Are you talking about Jackie Earl Haley?
No, I'll find it. Just continue.
All right. Anyway. So yeah, Lincoln is storytelling. Where's that banner? There it is. Okay. So Lincoln is a historical drama film that tells the story of the final 4 months of Abraham Lincoln's life. The film was set during the American Civil War and focuses on Lincoln's efforts to pass the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which would abolish slavery. The film delves into
Nelson. That's who I was talking.
Yeah, that's what we mentioned earlier, Timberlake Nelson. The film delves into the Lincoln's personal life, exploring his relationships with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, his eldest son, Robert Todd Lincoln, as well as his interactions with his cabinet members and members of Congress. The story is based on historical events and also on Doris Kearns Goodwin's book, Team of Rivals, The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln. The film shows Lincoln's political skills and his determination to pass the amendment, despite the opposition from some of his own party members and the ongoing Civil War. The film also depicts the morale, political struggle of Lincoln and the country during that time. The film received widespread critical acclaim, particularly for Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of Lincoln, and received numerous awards, including 12 Academy Award nominations and 2 wins for Best Production Design and Best Actor for Day-Lewis. So that's Lincoln in a nutshell for Steven Spielberg. I have just some quick thoughts. I've never seen this film. I kind of put it on the back burner. I'm like, I don't think I'd be that interested in it. It really was like, this looks like it's going to be a boring political film that I had no interest in at the time. But now that I guess I'm a little older, a little wiser, political films do have some peak of entertainment to what I watch now, and this knocked it out of the park. I thought it was enthralling. I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought the characters were incredibly well portrayed. Daniel Day-Lewis does an incredible job. And I'm just going to stop talking so we can watch the trailer for Lincoln and get into the discussion.
We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
We can't tell our people they can vote yes on abolishing slavery unless at the same time we can tell them that you're seeking a negotiated peace.
It's either the amendment or this Confederate peace. You cannot have both.
How many hundreds of thousands have died during your administration?
Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal. Leave the Constitution alone.
We are stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands. Blood's been spilled to afford us this moment. Now!
Abraham Lincoln has asked us to work with him to accomplish the death of slavery.
Tell me
no
these
one's
ways.
ever been loved so much by the people. Don't waste that power.
This fight is for the United States of America.
I find
choose to be born, or
I find it interesting.
We're born into.
Well, I don't know about myself. You may be.
They just wasted money on actors. Like, there were big actors in just completely minimal roles. It's just pointless to like have Adam Driver say something.
I think they just, some people might just want to be in the movie.
I mean, yeah, Steven Spielberg. Just gonna say Steven Spielberg.
Shall we stop this bleeding?
It's okay. I was gonna say that it's funny how a trailer, when I watch that trailer, I'm like, man, this looks kind of like sappy and a little like dry, and like I don't know if I'm gonna totally dig it. But when you watch the movie, a lot of those lines and context are like really powerful, riveting, and just kind of like, whoa, they have so much like weight, and there's like you can feel the passion and the emotion. Like especially Daniel Day-Lewis just nailed a lot of the scenes. There's a lot of scenes where he's saying, he's saying his lines and they don't break from camera. They're just these long one take scenes, which is superb acting.
Like the movie. Okay, like the trailer is not as good as the movie.
The trailer paints a bad picture of the movie. Yeah, and everyone, like you guys were saying, some of you've seen it before, and it's a little boring, and it's maybe not as entertaining, and like to me that set the bar really low, so low that Lincoln's long legs easily stepped over it, because it was like I was like, wow.
Yeah, I know. I had said that I remembered it being boring and dull. And to be fair, when I came back and rewatched it this morning, actually, it's better than I remember. Although I think the movie has some issues in the writing, the plot, and missed opportunities that I think they could have done with this movie. But we'll get into that. But I think overall the movie was better than I remembered it.
It was very long, but I felt like it took like an hour to get into it. Like for the first hour of the movie, I'm like, I don't know. But then, an hour in, Lincoln starts to have like more meaningful moments and speeches and more like witty things.
See, that's interesting you say that because it didn't take me an hour. I specifically remember the moment that I was like, holy shit, this is an amazing movie. And it's when he's basically, I think he's talking about signing the 13th Amendment, which is this.
Yeah, that's the plot. Like it
Mrs.
takes no
Goings was seen
description.
no
It's
more
just
Yeah.
signing
in
to get the
Metamora.
13th
Enough
Amendment and
justice
end the
has
Civil
been
War.
done.
That's
Well, yeah,
Even
but
for
like
the bondsman, her bail.
just the way this whole scene was
I'm afraid,
presented,
Dulcie, I
how it's
decided
just like one long, slow push,
the
and he just
Constitution gives me war powers.
I liked this scene.
decrees.
No one knows just exactly
This was
what
the
those
moment I'm like,
powers
this movie
are.
kicks ass.
This was an
Maybe they
interesting
don't
scene.
exist. I don't know. I decided I
Talking about the
needed
legality
process
and.
to uphold my
But
oath
do you know
to
what?
protect
Better
the
than him describing this to me, I would rather them
which I
showed me some of
decided
these
meant that I
things.
could take the rebel slaves from them as
There's a
See,
lot of
that's
exposition.
confiscated in war. That might recommend
that
suspicion that I agree with the
I
rebels
get
their
that
slaves are
that
property
sentiment. You want
just
to
as
see
I
it, but
don't.
I'm more in the mindset like if you can have
As a
somebody
journeyman,
tell you a
used to
story
deliver
and
my
you
property
picture that in your mind, that's
war
amazing
contraband
storytelling.
as the trick I caught at the
This
opportunity.
movie is a stage play. It could have
Maybe
easily
it
been
was
a
true
stage
slippery.
play. There's nothing about it that couldn't just
I use the
have been
law, allowing
not
for
done
the
in a
seizure
movie
of
instead.
Much like the
property in a
American
war,
president.
knowing it applies only to the property of governments and
No, but
citizens of belligerent nations.
these
The South
people
ain't
even
a
seem
nation.
more real than the
That's
people
why
in
I
the
can't
American
negotiate
president.
with them.
And
So
there's a
if in
bit of
fact
what
the
I was
Negroes
talking about with the
are
American president in
property
this too,
according to
where it's just
law,
like
have I the
they're
right
just
to take the
churning out
rebels'
so many
property from them
words
if I insist that
without
rebels
any
own it, not
breaks
citizens
where it
of
doesn't
the
sound like a
belligerent
real
country?
person.
This is a slower
But
pace,
still, I
whereas
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin is a much faster dialogue.
Which
It is
I
a
don't
faster
think
dialogue.
works.
Yeah, I would agree.
So this is a little slow for me, but it's also enjoyable because this actor is so enjoyable in this role. But
So good, so good in this role.
And he makes Lincoln a likable guy.
Yeah.
But like not in an unrealistic idealized, well, slightly idealized for sure, but not in the way they do with Michael Douglas.
Right. Well, this is about a real person versus Michael Douglas.
Like this guy is actually supposed to be one of the greatest presidents ever, but no one says to him, "You care about this country more than anyone I've ever met." Like like they don't need to butter him up with like.
Okay, can we stop trashing the American president? Can we move on to this movie?
I'll try.
My oath demanded it. I felt right with myself, and I hoped it was legal to do it. I'm hoping still.
I like that. I'm hoping
2 years ago, I proclaimed these people emancipated, then, thenceforward, and forever free. Well, let's say the courts decide I had no authority to do it. They might well decide that. Say there's no amendment abolishing slavery. Says after the war, and I can no longer use my war powers to just ignore the court's decisions like I sometimes felt I had to do. Might those people I freed be ordered back into slavery? That's why I'd like to get the 13th Amendment through the House and on its way to ratification by the states, wrap the whole slavery thing up forever and aye as soon as I'm able. Now, end of this month. And I'd like you to stand behind me like my cabinet's most always done.
I agree. This is when the movie took off at this scene.
3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's how long that take was. Flawless.
As the preacher said,
flawless.
I could write shorter sermons.
Well, he's a stage actor, and this is
He's very good. He's very good.
Lazy to stop.
Yeah. But yeah,
It seems to me,
I
sir,
like
you're
the
describing
character that they
precisely
make him
the
out.
sort
Like,
of dictator the Democrats have been howling about.
like how accurate
Dictators
it
aren't
is, who
susceptible
knows?
to law. Neither is
But
he.
the
He just
character
said
they
as
make him
much,
out to be in
ignoring
this
the
movie
court's
is
twisting
somebody you want to
readings.
cheer for and is
What reins
likable.
him in from
Flawed, not even not happy, but just
What's really
Like,
different
honest
about it is how
people
different
that-
of a president he is than what I think of as a president, which maybe is the American president or these television movie presidents that are more like heroic. And not that he's not heroic, but he's very quiet. He's very.
He's a politician. He's a what do they call it?
He doesn't feel like a politician though.
He's a policy guy. He's a policy guy.
Yeah, he's a policy
all about
wonk.
the policy.
The people would tell me. I gave them a year and a half to think about it, and they reelected me. And come February the 1st, I intend to sign the 13th Amendment.
You can't sign it until the state's ratified.
Yeah, good scene. Good scene.
Well, Mr. Representative.
He has a lot of good.
There's
I
a lot
like
of
when
good
he just
scenes.
tells the story about George Washington in the painting in the bathroom in Britain. That one made me laugh. That's when I realized I really liked this portrayal of Lincoln. I was like, I like this guy. He's got some witty stories. And the guy walks out. He's just like, I can't handle more of your stories. But then the story is actually funny. It's just like nothing makes a Brit shit faster than the sight of George Washington. So the painting will do a lot of good use in the bathroom.
Right. So you have like Steven Spielberg making this movie. You got Abraham. One of the only movies I can really think of about Abraham Lincoln, of course, has the title Lincoln. And there's this deliberate. The choice of this movie, the choice of this movie it's going to be this small story that takes over the course of a month, and it's right before he dies.
4
right
months.
He gets, is it 4 months? Oh, I guess it ends in April, right? But it's more about getting the bill ratified in that month-long period. And then you're right, there's a time jump at the end, or towards the end, and then it jumps back to when he's alive. But for the most part, it's taking place over the month of January 1865, most of this movie, versus like you could have said it at the beginning of the Civil War. You could have shown the Civil War. I'm not saying that this is a bad movie because of those things, but I think that from wanting to see some of the history really played out with Lincoln specifically, I feel like, I would have liked to see more. You could have made a couple movies here with, Daniel Day-Lewis is so good in the role that I think I just was left wanting more, like to see more of that context. And we only get this like little window into it, which is an interesting choice, I think, and to focus it on the slavery ratification and the politics. And it works really well for our theme tonight. But I think I guess what I'm looking is more for an historical biopic, epic that I might, see from others, like a Kennedy movie or something.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I actually took the kind of opposite on that. I thought it was going to be a biopic, and I wasn't really interested in the life of Abraham Lincoln. So that's where I was like not looking forward to watching this movie. But then when I found out it was just about the steps they had to take, especially with their little like almost party whips, the James Spader and Tim Blake Nelson, those guys were awesome.
Yeah,
just trying to get all the votes. I liked that better, and I'm glad it wasn't a Civil War movie. There's tons of Civil War movies, and that doesn't really have as much to do with Lincoln. It's like this is more on the political side. And
I have to agree.
I found that interesting because it's to me that's something to make a movie about, the ratification of the elimination of slavery. That's something you make a movie about,
right?
20% off emissions.
And
that
I guess
even pass.
And I do like that part of the movie. I think where the movie they ended up making versus the one that I was maybe like imagining when I was thinking about a Lincoln movie was a lot of this stuff with his family, with his wife and his two sons. I found was my least favorite part of the movie, or the least interesting part of the movie.
Yeah.
Sally Field is hit or miss for me. She's a great actress and everything, but sometimes I just don't really enjoy Sally Field, and this is one of those times.
Yeah,
Sally Field. She's not the greatest, but she there was a couple scenes, like the scene where she basically berates like Tommy Lee Jones and them in the middle of a hall, like literally after she's like having the breakdown, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, am I holding you up and completely embarrassing you in front of all these people? Oh, silly me," like that whole scene was like superb, and she did great in that.
Doesn't it suck how the people will never love you like they love my husband? Yeah, that would suck for you.
Yeah, but then it cuts right to Lincoln and Tommy Lee Jones in the basement, and I'm like, I feel like there was something missing in between there, from like when she hits him up in the receiving line until when
that's the untempered version of Reconstruction. It's not
this is a good
exactly
scene.
what I intend.
Oh, yeah.
We shall oppose one another in the course of time. Now we're working together, and I'm asking you.
For patience, I expect.
When the people disagree, bringing them together requires going slow till they're ready to make up the
That's
difference.
shit on the people. What they want and what they're ready for. I don't give a goddamn about the people and what they want. This is the face
Tommy
of
Lee
someone
Jones
who
is the
fought
perfect
long and
character
hard for the good
to
of the
bring
people without
in
caring
if
much
you
for
want
any of
cold hard truth.
And grumpiness.
And I look about where's
Yeah.
The people elected me to represent them, to lead them, and I lead. You ought to try it.
I admire your zeal, Mr. Stevens, and I have tried to profit from the example of it. If I'd listened to you, I'd have declared
sometimes
every
he just
slave free
seems
the
like
minute
he's
the first
doing an
shell struck
impression of
Fort
Abe
Sumter.
Lincoln and not acting.
Border states would have gone over to the Confederacy, the war would have been lost, and the Union along with it. And instead of abolishing
I never got that
slavery,
feeling.
which we hope to do in 2 weeks, we'd be watching helpless as infants as it spread from the
More like how
American
he looks
South into
down
South
after each
America.
line, like he's
Oh,
doing
you
a
live long to
routine
say that
of his
to me.
impression, and it's just like it
You
gets
claim you
weird and
trust them,
repetitive.
but you know what the people are. You know that the inner compass that should direct the soul toward justice has ossified in white men and women, north and south, unto utter uselessness through tolerating the evil of slavery. White people cannot bear the thought of sharing this country's infinite abundance with Negroes.
A compass I learned when I was surveying. It'll point you true north from where you're standing. But it's got no advice about the swamps, deserts, and chasms that you'll encounter along the way. If in pursuit of your destination you plunge ahead heedless of obstacles and achieve nothing more than to sink in
So
a
here,
swamp.
for example, he just sounds like he's reading text.
Oh, he's
What's
not.
the use of knowing true north?
I'm captivated by it, and he's right. Like I like how he's like, basically the whole point about Mr. Stevens, like the Tommy Lee Jones character, who's wants to abolish slavery, and he's like, he's more absolute. He's more like morally pure, and Lincoln's more like a politician, more willing to like say like the metaphor with the compass. Like, what's the good of a compass if you end up in a swamp or off a chasm? You have to kind of navigate the world and not just be about your direction and your goal. You have people require some of this thing, and this is where Lincoln is a different kind of a politician than Tommy Lee Jones's character, Thaddeus Stevens. But I really like their dichotomy and the fact that they are not friends, and even though they're part of the same party, that they are politically, they would normally be on very far apart, but they are working together on this because they have a common goal, and it's admirable, and it's a good showing of coming together for the right thing. So best scene I think in the movie.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Do you have the scene about the toilet? Skip it. I already told the joke anyway.
And they see George Washington, they shit? Or
yeah, they shit, yeah.
I did enjoy these guys so much.
They're great.
We should be cheering right now.
There was a lot of political intrigue in this movie. Like, how did they get this passed? And like when they're showing like how hard it was, like the votes they needed to get, and how they had to get them.
Mr.
Like, man, see, that's a movie.
That's Lee Pace there.
Mr. Wood conclude his
I thought he
interminable
looked familiar.
gabble. Some of us breathe oxygen, and we find the mephitic fumes of his
These are my favorite
oratory a
parts.
lethal challenge
He
to
was
our
so
pulmonary
We shall
To me, the best
oppose
speech
this
is
amendment
Tommy
and
Lee
any
Jones'
legislation that so affronts natural law, insulting to God as to man. Congress must never declare equal those whom God created unequal.
Oh, pause it. Can you pause it? See, that comes back around, actually, because that's pretty much the exact same thing Tommy Lee Jones says at the end in his best speech, where he's being like, he doesn't want to say racial equality because he thinks then all the Democrats will vote against it. So he's just like, no, but equality under the law.
Well, he has to capitulate. He listens to Lincoln ultimately, and he doesn't say what he believes. He says what he's going to get the goal done.
Yeah. But his reason for saying that is the same thing as what that guy just said right there. He's just because he looks over at his opponent guy, the bald older guy. He's just like, you and I, we have to be equal under the law, and that's fine. But we're not. You're like a slimy piece of shit. You're not equal to me. He's like, you're like the worst scumbag ever. Like,
but luckily we have laws.
yeah, exactly. Luckily we have laws.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Wood has the floor. Instruct us, so great commoner. What is unnatural in your opinion? Negroes casting ballots? Negro representatives? Is that natural, Stevens? Intermarriage?
What violates natural law? Slavery. And you, Pendleton, you insult God. You
See, that part sucks
unnatural
because he didn't say why.
Natural noise.
He does totally Jones did better later. But
I like that. It's like it feels like a House of Commons scene almost, you know.
Yeah, and this is that equals part that you're
Tragic attempt to delude us now is unworthy of a representative. It is, in fact, unworthy of a white man.
How can I hold that all men are created equal when here before me stands stinking the moral carcass of the gentleman from Ohio? Proof that some men are inferior, endowed by their maker with dim wits, impermeable to reason, with cold, pallid slime in their veins instead of hot red blood. You are more reptile than man, George. So low and flat that the foot of man is incapable of crushing you.
How dare you!
Yet even you, Pendleton, who should have been gibbeted for treason long before today, even worthless, unworthy you, ought to be treated equally before the law. And so again, sir, and again, and again, and again, I say, I do not hold with equality in all things, only with equality before the law.
I love this look he does with his eyes.
It's probably, if we were to ask, jump ahead here for a sec, which scenes hold up, that's the one for me. I love that scene.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the one in the basement. That's really the strongest one where they talk about their differences and the fact that they both need to work with each other and learn from each other a little bit, that they both have different strengths and they need to work together on this. So, and that scene is a realization of what's set up earlier, you know? So
I would say the scenes that probably held up for me, which was the introduction to the. I guess I'll just call them gerrymanderers, the guys that are like going around. I call them the three wise men, if you will.
They're the political fixers.
Nor I. You're
Yeah.
paid for your discretion.
Well, you can have that for nothing. What we need money for is bribe.
that's James Spader. I do. It's like, okay.
Nothing
Yeah,
strictly
man.
illegal.
John Hawk.
Congressman, they starve otherwise.
I have explained to Mr.
There's Tim
Bilbo
Blake
and
Nelson.
Mr.
And
Levitt
Tim Blake Nelson rocking a proper friendly mutton chop.
and nothing more.
I was so thrilled to see that.
Everybody in this era has facial hair except for that Secretary of State guy.
Well, will he be unhappy if we lose?
When men were men.
The money I managed to raise for this endeavor is only for your fees.
But George Washington lived in a clean-shaven era.
Yeah, weird.
With that squirrel-infested attic you've quartered us in's any measure, you ain't raised much.
Should we get to work?
So I when I saw Tim Blake Nelson, I was like, yes, beautiful friendly mutton chops. And then as I watched the movie, I started to notice even more friendly mutton chops. Look at this massive pair of friendly mutton chops on this elderly gentleman, just rocking it.
Almost
Really
every man in this
disfiguring.
movie has a beard or big mutton chops or sideburns.
This precarious gentleman on the other side, don't stand for his beliefs, but he's got a fine set of friendly mutton chops. Got to give him the love. And then we got this gentleman, the cowardly gentleman who abstained from voting Walton Goggins. Next to Walton Goggins, the gentleman next to Walton Goggins, who voted no, then voted yes, and then voted to abstain because he was a coward.
Right. He was funny. They were both such cowards.
I believe.
He's like, well, shoot me dead. I vote yes.
I'm gonna give this one a friendly mutton chops pass as well. He's got more of a handlebar mustache attachment to it, but I'm gonna pass. It's not full connected, but it's still nice. And then the last friendly mutton chops. If you notice here in the top left corner, the gentleman with the orange ginger friendly mutton chops. Ah, beautiful. Bravo, well done, Spielberg, for really showcasing the fine look of the friendly mutton chops, as you can see.
You and Kevin
One of my
Moore
favorite
would
moments.
be very proud.
This has been Muttons with Murphy.
Muttons with Murphys. Yes, this era is all about the mutton chops and mustaches and sideburns and everything.
I'm bringing it back, baby.
There's like 2 people who are clean shaven in the movie.
All right.
But yeah,
the scenes we enjoyed.
Yeah, I love the shots in this film though, like the aesthetics and the looks, like just the
Look at this
the
scene in
color.
particular is
Yeah,
really
the Petersburg like whole
Yeah,
like
brutal.
checking out the war and stuff. Like, oh, it's so
and
like
the
just
battle at the beginning too.
the aftermath. Yeah, the battle at the beginning was cool. I love the fact to touch on your like you wanted to see more violence. I actually like the fact that they subverted the violence. I like the fact that they showed the aftermath of the war. They showed like that scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's walking and he's following that like bucket trail. The guys are like wheelbarrowing and there's a blood trail and they just dump a
arms.
bunch of legs in the pit and like all the limbs and stuff. Like I love that sort of like subversion. And then on top of that, it was this scene, my heart went in my throat because I was like, oh shit, is this going to be the one? And I was expecting them to have the whole opera scene where, you know, we know he gets assassinated, but they don't do that. In fact, what they end up doing is they show another opera where you think it's going to be, but it's just the one where his kid's watching it and they announce it and you watch his utter dismay and horrible heartbreak as he finds out that, you know, they killed Lincoln, and they only really shot
it
of
was
him.
such a surprise. That was such a
Yeah,
surprise.
we never even see the assassin in this movie at all.
No.
It's
Wilkes
not even
Booth?
Wilkes Booth. Yeah, it's not even part of the story at all. It's not even important, which I think is a good thing. You know, I not necessarily I wanted more violence, but I thought there was an opportunity to like tell us the longer story of the Civil War, perhaps like from the beginning, but this is all at the end of it. But I guess, you know, they kind of explain a lot of what happened.
So long too.
Yeah, it's 4 years and whatever. So, yeah, like the ending's really interesting.
Yeah. Performances for me, I would say that held up. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis all day long for sure.
Easily.
And like Spader was a great character. There's just so many good. Yeah, I'm gonna say Spader and Daniel Day-Lewis. I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of great roles in this film.
I thought like
Tommy Lee had. Go ahead.
Tommy Lee.
Oh my God, yeah, Tommy Lee Jones.
I think that like with the like see even like the fact that the story is about the Republicans are the good guys and the Democrats are the bad guys, which is maybe not totally what our world is today, or what was in the American president at least. And how the Democrats are like the ones holding on to slavery, and like it's like a real interesting role reversal from you know when you go back almost 200 years. I thought, and the people who play those like the Confederate guys like Jackie Earl Haley and even the people in the Congress like Lee Pace, they do a great job of being so villainous, you know.
Arkansas too, most likely. It'll be ratified. Slavery, sir. It's done. If we submit ourselves to law, Alex, even submit to losing freedoms, the freedom to oppress, for instance, we may discover other freedoms previously unknown to us. But you kept faith with democratic process, as frustrating as that can be.
Come, sir. Spare us at least these pieties. Did you defeat us with ballots?
You're muted, Murphy.
Sorry, even that guy that just spoke, he's such a prominent actor, but it was such a small role. They had so many like big actors for so many tiny roles.
Yeah, it seemed like it's like Steven Spielberg is making a Lincoln movie, and everybody wanted to be in it. It feels like.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah, I like Spader. He was my favorite. Tommy Lee had the best dialogue, but maybe not the best performance. I don't think his performance was as good as, like, say,
he was very Tommy Lee,
for example. Yeah, he was just being Tommy Lee Jones.
But it's really about Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, like.
Yeah.
And actually, I really do like the scene with him and Ulysses S. Grant, who would go on to be a president as well in the future, where they're talking about the negotiation. Although I guess one of the issues I have with the movie, or it's more about history. It's more of my issues with history was about the whole restoration, where Lincoln is, there's many scenes in the movie where Lincoln's talking about restraint. Let's not hang all these guys once we bring it together. And the rest, after Lincoln was assassinated, his vice president took power, who was a very bad person. And he kind of was more favored to the South. We don't see him in this movie, but the restoration, slavery was abolished, but in the South, like Jim Crow laws came in, and like there was a whole new kind of oppression that would go on really for like well into another century, right? And after this, and so all of that's kind of left out, or sort of not touched upon. So, and I was like, hang all these guys, hang Jackie Earl Haley, hang the traitors. Like, I get like pardoning the 16-year-old kid who didn't want to go into battle and wounded his horse.
You don't want to hang a guy for running away.
No, but if you're going to spare that kid, spare the kid, but get rid of these guys, get rid of all these Confederates and these slime balls and whatever. Because if
we hung every 16-year-old for being cruel, there'd be no 16-year-old boys.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, it's a good line. Yeah, they're like, well, you can't just pardon all these deserters. It's gonna hurt the cause.
Yeah, Buddy wakes up. He's like, he's just like, don't let him pardon any more deserters. That part was funny. There was some good humor in this movie as well.
Oh yeah, actually, speaking,
honestly, my biggest downside though. Oh yeah, go ahead. One more performance. Yeah.
One more performance, and this one I like because it ties in actually to our last episode of Parties. There's a certain actor who we all love, Bruce McGill. He appeared as the Thunder God.
Thunder forth, God of War.
We'll commence our assault on Wilmington from the sea.
I know that guy from Babylon 5.
Yeah, he was in Animal House as D-Day, and he shows up now.
He was also Captain.
Took by a breeze.
Not Ransom, but the guy from the future, Captain Braxton.
Yeah, that's right. He was
Braxton. To hear what it portends.
A bombardment from the largest fleet the Navy has ever assembled.
Oh,
yeah.
We don't get to see that battle. We just get telegraphs.
Yeah, we get telegraphs. A nice little telegraph, tight little chat around the telegraph machine as they have some coffee. A little story.
Yeah, you're right. It feels like a stage play. Other than that, like battle thing at the beginning, like most of it's just so quiet and people talking in rooms.
Here's the thing: my biggest downside for this movie, though, is you could have removed a half an hour and it wouldn't have lost anything.
I feel like you could have taken out all of the Sally Field stuff, and I feel like this movie
2 minutes of him staring at his kid. You could have just had him walk in and make one nice, loving glance towards his kid and got the same point across. Like there's a lot of places where you could cut out a minute. And it just would have made
what is it? 2.5 hours? This movie?
2.5 hours.
I feel like it could have got down to two for this story that they wanted to tell. But
agreed. Well, get some morsels for us there, Murphy.
I do have some morsels. I also have one final scene that was befitting because it was one that Dave brought up that I also enjoyed, which was the telegraph scene. But we'll skip that. If you watch the movie, enjoy the telegraph scene. They talk about are we at befitting times the ones we're born in, and it was just really well done. Let's get in the movie morsels for Lincoln and So Lincoln 2012. Steven Spielberg spent 12 years researching the film. He recreated Abraham Lincoln's executive mansion office precisely with the same wallpaper and books Lincoln used. The ticking of Lincoln's watch in the film is the sound of Lincoln's actual pocket watch. Lincoln's watch is housed in the Kentucky Historical Society in Frankfort, Kentucky, not the Lincoln Presidential Library. It is the watch he carried the day of his assassination.
Oh, it sounds like Spielberg's a believer like Rob Reiner.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Rob Reiner, one small movie more for the American president, is Rob Reiner followed Bill Clinton around for 2 days and just took notes.
Yeah.
Lobbyist William N. Bilbo's, James Spader's character, appearance was created from scratch because not a single photo of him exists. His eccentric presence was taken from various sources.
Rob Reiner's also a big wig in the Democratic Party, so he probably isn't the guy who should have made that movie, and that's why it came off so tripping and
Well,
what he
it's very
wants to portray.
pro-Democrat. I agree with you there. If you want to call that I could see if you were a Republican, you wouldn't like that movie.
Describing his experience playing Abraham Lincoln, Daniel Day-Lewis said, "I never ever felt that depth of love for another human being that I never met." And that's, I think, probably the effect that Lincoln has on most people that take the time to discover him. I wish he had stayed with me forever. During the 3.5 months of filming, Steven Spielberg addressed his actors in character. He called Daniel Day-Lewis Mr. President, Abraham Lincoln, yada yada, Sally Field Mrs. Lincoln or Molly. And additionally, he wore a suit every day on set. I think I wanted to get into the role more than anything else as being part of that experience because we were recreating a piece of history. And so I didn't want to look like the schlubby baseball cap wearing 21st century guy. I wanted to be like the cast.
He's a method director.
Yeah, I appreciate that he went the extra mile for that, right? In February 20, this is a great fact and touches on your point earlier about the whole Emancipation Proclamation and stuff. In February 2013, numerous reports stated that this movie led to the final official 50-state ratification of the 13th Amendment, nearly 150 years after it was approved by 3/4 of the states in November 2012. Dr. Rajan Batra, a non-historian academician at the University of Mississippi, saw Lincoln 2012, then did an internet search to find out more about the amendment. He and his colleague Ken Sullivan discovered that although Mississippi voted to ratify the amendment in 1995, a clerical oversight caused that vote to remain officially unacknowledged, since the Mississippi Secretary of State had never sent the vote results to the U.S. Office of the Federal Registration. After Sullivan also saw the movie, both men urged the Office of the Mississippi Secretary of State to file that paperwork, which they did on January 30th, 2013. On February 7, 2013, the director of the Federal Register confirmed its receipt, along with the fact that Mississippi had finally ratified the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States 150 years later.
Wow.
But they didn't do that.
They didn't?
Well, they were going to show it, you said? Is that how?
No, they did. No, they finally, like, they did it, but the clerical error means that it didn't fully go through, and then they caught it and they presented it. And
now so it wasn't actually in the Constitution until way later.
Yeah, until like 150 years later.
Yeah.
According to Steven Spielberg, it was James Spader's idea to have his character seen as indulging in hand carving a wooden duck, a preoccupation that Spader's personal research revealed to be one of the major hobbies of Civil War era America. During the time when he was expected to play the title role, Liam Neeson did an extensive and timely amount of research on Abraham Lincoln. He read over 20 books and visited.
I'm glad it wasn't decent.
I could have seen. I think he would have been okay, but I think Daniel Day-Lewis was probably. I'm sure was better than his would have been. So
yeah, he read over 20 books and visited with the then existing Lincoln Bicentennial Committee in Washington D.C. The committee granted Neeson's access to Lincoln's history, such as personal letters. Neeson also visited Ford's Theater and viewed personal items such as Lincoln's wallet and the Bible used for his inauguration.
Did they have to do something to make Daniel Day-Lewis taller? Because I don't think he is as tall as Lincoln was, right?
You know what? I don't think he is not as tall as Lincoln was. I noticed a lot of the wider scenes where he seemed to be standing taller. You really couldn't see his feet, and there was a lot of shadow. So I assume he was standing on boxes of some form.
Surrounded him with short actors.
Yeah, surrounded with short actors, probably camera play. It was something that it was a movie more so I wanted to dig into, but I admittedly didn't have the time to pull it up, so I don't know, but I assume that's how they did it.
There were a couple of scenes where he definitely looks taller, and he's 6'1" and he's almost he's 6'1", so he's not short, but he's not tall either.
I got more.
Yeah, I got a few more just last ones. Though movies directed by Steven Spielberg have been nominated for and won Academy Awards since Jaws 1975 and 75, no actor had ever won an Oscar for a Spielberg-directed performance until Daniel Day-Lewis for this movie. This was the last Steven Spielberg movie to which renowned film critic Roger Ebert gave a review before his death in April 2013.
Roger Ebert gave the American President a thumbs up, as did Gene Siskel.
I did not know that, but Ebert gave this film a perfect 4 stars out of 4. toward the beginning of the movie, Lincoln is telling his wife about a nightmare he had that night before. He says, I could be bound in a nutshell and count myself king of infinite space, were it not that I have bad dreams. This is a quote from William Shakespeare's play Hamlet, Acts 2, Scene 2. Although Abraham Lincoln was almost entirely self-educated, he was an avid reader of Shakespeare's plays in 1860. The author and critic William Dean Howells wrote that the then candidate for president was a diligent student of Shakespeare, known to whom is a liberal education. Deanna Day-Lewis played Hamlet in an 1889 production at London National Theatre. And these are the last four. Lin-Manuel Miranda was going to write a musical about Lincoln and the Civil War based on the book Team of Rivals, but changed his mind when this film went into production first. Miranda would go on to create the critically acclaimed Hamilton of 2020.
Which I love. Hamilton's amazing.
Hamilton's fantastic.
We agree on something, Davan. We both like.
The music's just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
The film debuted in the same year as another movie about another former American president, which was Hyde Park on Hudson in 2012 about U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Bruce McGill is the third cast member for National Lampoon's Animal House to work with Steven Spielberg. John Belushi appeared in 1921, and Karen Allen in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Don't forget Babylon 5.
And this marks Tommy Lee Jones' first time being directed by Steven Spielberg. Jones starred alongside Will Smith in the original Men in Black trilogy, executive produced by Steven Spielberg. Cinematography by Jonas Kaminski, edited by Michael Kahn, music by John Williams. Release date of October 8th, 2012 at New York Film Festival, November 16th, 2012 in the United States, so November 16th is the release date. Running time of 150 minutes, not agonizing. Budget $65 million, box office $275.3 million.
So is it the most commercially successful of these?
Yes, it's definitely the most commercially successful of these three movies. Doesn't have
rewatchability. For me, no. I'm glad I saw it once, but it's too long, and I think I got it. I
think to watch the whole movie again, would be like I would maybe in 10 years, like I because it was interesting coming back to this and remembering more of it, and like and I forgot all about the politic part of it. Like I was like, oh yeah, okay, like there's all the getting the votes and all the mechanics of that. And I think in the first time around, I didn't really appreciate that part.
I think there is some rewatchability into it. Will I go out of my way to watch it again right away? Probably not, but I could see myself watching it again down the road, just to sort of, it was really well told. I liked the telling. I liked how it was presented. I think there's rewatchability in this film.
Yeah, it's not. It's borderline for me, but I'll probably say no one.
I'll certainly watch scenes. I think I might watch scenes again, like just in smaller bits. But
does it hold up? I'm gonna say yes. Or does it measure up? This is a new one. Does it measure up?
Measure up, hold up. I say yes.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Good time.
All right. So that's 3 yeses. That's an A movie.
There you go.
See, not all my choices are fucking turds.
No, only mine.
No, just most of them. What year?
Third time's the charm, Dave.
Again?
Yeah.
2012, right? Yeah.
2012. Yeah, it came out in 2012.
All right, so that joins the likes of Matinee, The Wolfman, Werewolf by Night, Soylent Green, House Party, Dr. Strangelove, and Lincoln. Those are our A movies on this show. So we have our political movie rankings here. So where we each rank the 3 movies we just for me,
based on them being movies or them being political movies.
Oh, just on which ones you enjoyed. For me, I'll go Strangelove, Lincoln, and American President.
Go ahead, Murphy. I know American President will be also last for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be Lincoln, Strangelove, and American President.
For me, it's the American President. Easily the best of these 3 movies. In terms of who gets the silver medal between Strangelove, it's Lincoln. Lincoln's the second best for me, and Strangelove is the least. But it's not a bad movie, really. But it's just I would rank it the lowest.
My last contention with the American president is because it's just that you said how it was a different world then, and it was a world before Trump and 9/11 and all these things that changed the political discourse.
Right.
But to me, that's why that movie really didn't hold up, is because that discourse has changed. So it's like that movie became even more distasteful.
Well, it's very it's almost like an era movie, or it's specific to it's almost like a historical romantic retrospective of what was, so
like, do I think Ebert would give that movie a thumbs up if it came out now? I don't.
Well, who's to say what he would do now? But in 1995 he gave it a thumbs up, and so did Gene Siskel. But it wasn't made now, it was made then.
True, but how is Don't Look Up condescending, but that movie isn't?
Well, they're completely different, in how they go about it. Their message is right straight on. It's not a subtext. It's not trying to say look at the absurdity of these weird, wacky people. It's like that. That's the difference. Very different. I don't think there's any condescending part of it, other than they love America and the hype and the hoopla. You can consider I know you don't like that, but
the fainting is just
the fainting.
It's just
that's
all right, gentlemen.
Better than you. I know.
All right, gentlemen. I think it's time we take this episode and
let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, that was a good ending.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did a little wheeling and dealing, and Murphy agreed to downgrade Southland Tales to a C movie.
Yes,
there's a little wiggle room on this show.
For the fact that he's never seen UHF, and I insist that we watch UHF. It's one of my
Southland Tales is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in my life.
I'm so glad you got to witness that.
So
yeah, it was certainly bizarre.
All right.
Well, do we have our? Well, before we hit our coming attractions, we'll just have a quick
talk about our Federation of Podcasts.
Yeah, we got our roll call here. We have our Federation. There we are.
Our United Federation of Podcasts, if you will, where we have great, amazing shows like X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show. Davan, do you want to tell us about that at all?
We review the X-Men.
That's it. You review the X-Men. You guys did a 2-part recently. You're getting on the final
Sanctuary. We're season 4, episode 4.
Sanctuary.
Best 2-parter of the series yet. It was fantastic.
And you host that with Andre Mayette, host of Graphic Histories, the podcast where he talks all things comic and art and graphic histories. He's got a few episodes coming out real soon, I believe.
Frank Forstall, his second parter there, and then he has another 2-part episode coming up with David Cullen, I believe his name is. He's a Marvel artist. Did What If issues and things like that.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's Graphic Histories, and when you want to talk about reality TV shows, we got Super Mater Bros podcast for reality TV shows and all things TV related. Dave, how's that going for you over there?
Oh, it's going fine.
We are brothers!
So last year we covered Big Brother Canada 10. We also did Big Brother USA season 24. Was it 23 or 24 now? I can't remember. And of course, we did Survivor 43 and 42 last year. So Survivor will be coming back in March, and that will be our next show. And then Big Brother in the summer. Plus, we're doing the Marvel stuff over there too with the Mary Mater Marvel Society.
Mary Mater Marvel Society. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Ant-Man Quantumania coming up.
Yep.
Dude, I'm stoked for that. That's gonna be a good film. I don't know if you saw the trailer for that, but
no doubt.
Looks busy. Looks like there's a lot going on in it. So
yeah. Speaking of busy, we got the KBBL podcast where the extra B is for
extra B is for busy.
And you guys talking the finer episodes of The Simpsons over at the KBBL podcast. You guys just had yourselves an episode last week coming up tomorrow. Yeah, what's
tomorrow night?
What's the episode tomorrow?
The beheading of Jebediah Springfield.
It's a great episode.
Beautiful. And as well of other beheadings, if you want to see some, go to the Trivial Debates podcast. We got an episode coming up on January 29th. We are covering the reality TV show with host Jaemeel Robinson. We got Dave Mader, Jeff Mader, and Foster popping in to talk all things, debate all things reality.
Yeah, no, Jaemeel said it could go beyond Survivor, Big Brother, The Amazing Race, The Challenge. There's quite possibly going to be other things, but Jaemeel will be the judge. So
Hostmaster extraordinaire Jaemeel Robinson's got some plans. You do not want to miss that show. Dave, how you feeling? Do you think you got a chance?
I got a good chance. I think Foster, being a rookie trivial debater, is going to, I think I'm not super worried with him because I think he's just going to be trying to figure out what's going on. But Jeff Mader, always a force in the debates. Of course, we started the whole thing together, and Jeff has won, I think, just as much as Jody has. Like Jeff and Jody are sort of like the most winningest contestants. So Jeff's always tough.
It's going to be a real Slaughterfest. And Slaughterfest is what you'll find at the Hellbound podcast, the horror movie podcast with Michael Chan and Andrew Black, where you got to check this podcast out. It's a good time. All things horror related over there.
Alex Blackburn, actually.
Alex Blackburn. It's late.
Sometimes they call him Michael Blackburn and Alex Chan, but
and they happen to be gentlemen that join us on the Live Long and podcast where we talk things Star Trek. We go into in-depth things over the Locutors of Trek, Deep Space Science sections, and we do radio shows on the operations of Live Long and podcast. If you love Star Trek, you got to come check us out there and all the many shows we provide. Yeah.
Star Trek Enterprise Monday and Star Trek Deep Space Nine Tuesday. Check those things out.
Very regular and on the ball. So yeah, that's our little menagerie, a little federation of podcasts, if you will, that we have going on here at the United Federation Podcast. So I think that with that, we're gonna wrap it up. My name's Chris Murphy. It's been a lot of fun. Davin, Dave, you guys, always a good time. I enjoy watching
Sorry for
movies.
picking on you, Dave. Love you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, it's all good. I know I'm right. So
slight roasting.
The
I'm sure
listeners will decide.
Yeah,
let's take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
So let's with that. We're gonna leave you guys with coming attractions. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. Leave your comments, leave your love, sharing all that stuff. Enjoy the podcast and enjoy the movies.
Commanding officer of this camp, you British prisoners have been chosen to build a bridge across the River Kwai. If you work hard, you will be treated well. But if you do not work hard, you will be punished.
Go on without me. That's an order. You make me sick with your heroics. There's a stench of death about you. You carry it in your pack like the plague. You and that Colonel Nicholson, you're two of a kind. Crazy with courage. For what? How to die like a gentleman. How to die by the rules. When the only important thing is how to live like a human being.
My name is Nicholson.
Give me the book.
And by all means. You read English, I take it.
Do you read Japanese?
I'm sorry, no. But if it's a matter of precise translation, I'm sure that can be arranged. You see, the code specifically states that the...
Kill him! Kill him!
Could have done it. I was ready. Let's go.
bridge on the River Kwai, played against the naked canvas of war. Here is a vast panorama of human emotions, the courage and dignity of men who fight for their convictions, the humor of soldiers in the midst of tragedy.
I thought you were the enemy, sir.
Well, I'm an American, if that's what you mean. The tenderness that springs from the heart.
You're lovely.
The beauty and brutality that is war on an island in the jungle. The Bridge on the River Kwai is a motion picture achievement by a combination of brilliant creative talent. Produced by Sam Spiegel, who gave you The African Queen and On the Waterfront. Directed by David Lean, who made Brief Encounter and Great Expectations.
We've paid for that bridge and we're going to collect.
We're going to fly 35,000 men 300 miles and drop them behind enemy lines. It'll be the largest airborne operation ever mounted. Quite frankly, this kind of thing's never been attempted before. We shall seize the bridges, it's all a question of bridges, with thunderclap surprise, and hold them until they can be secured. And we go next Sunday.
7 days.
The sooner we go, the better. We've got them on the run.
Joseph E. Levine presents A Bridge Too Far. Based on Cornelius Ryan's international bestseller. The story of the most dramatic and devastating battle of World War II.
The plan is called Operation Market Garden. Market is the airborne element, and Garden the ground forces. I like to think of this as one of those American Western films. Germans will naturally, they're the bad guys. We, my friends, are the cavalry on the way to the rescue.
A Bridge Too Far. Starring Dirk Bogarde, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Edward Fox, Elliot Gould, Gene Hackman, Anthony Hopkins, Hardy Kruger, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neal, Robert Redford, Maximilian Schell, Liv Ullmann.
Take cover!
Don't you think that since we know that Arnhem is so crucial to their safety, they might know that too?
The river's wide and that the current is strong.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
And as any more cheery information comes my way, I'll just be too happy to pass it along. In the meantime, just think of this as on-the-job training.
They're 36 hours behind schedule. There's a battle, and we are in the process of winning it. Winning and losing is not a concern. Living or dying is.
Well, if you don't look at him right now, he's gonna die.
Dead now.
Right now.
I can give him a quick examination tonight.
Thank you very much, sir.
We need reinforcements and, above all, ammunition.
Little General, we're coming. We're coming tonight.
2 days, they said. We've been here 9. Why didn't we just try to bash through? Well, as you know, I've always thought that we tried to go a bridge too far.
In your own time, gentlemen.
Must be something big if the General's here.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
They're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you fail, it will be a massacre.
We've got orders to cross here.
That is the German front line.
Hold back! If we're not clever about this, no one will get to your brother.
I will.
There's only one way this ends. Last man standing.
I'm going back to see my father.
We need to keep moving. Come on.
I'm going back.
You can't possibly make it that way, man. You bloody insane. Why in God's name did you have to choose me?
Stay, please.
If you don't get there in time, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them. Good luck.